Woodward, we are starting off your day with a brand new crew. Meet Broder.
I can't control my arms sometimes. My limbs are just kind of flying.
Detroit Kool-Aid.
Fired up!
Y'all got Kool-Aid hot.
Fired up! But with the Wake Up Woodward crew, he's actually a part of the family.
Flannel Sam.
Ask me about my wiener! Okay.
Along with JB
20
and KG.
seconds.
Wake Up Woodward gets you all of your Detroit sports talk. Every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Live on Woodward Sports. A show for Detroit, by Detroit.
the best in
with people
10.
from Detroit. Tell Siri to set an alarm. Because it's
5,
time to Wake
4,
Up Woodward.
3, 2, 1.
What up, though, people? It is Wake Up Woodward, and we appreciate you all for choosing to kick off the day with the Woo Crew. That's another series. That's another series win from your Detroit Tigers. So, of course, it's a victory show. It's your boy, Brandon Day, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential Pistons reporter and writer for the network. Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad, vet of the network, Red Wings correspondent, man. You guys are crushing it with Woodward Wings as well. But Tigers, man, let's rock.
Hey, handle your business. Win
Handle
series.
your business.
That's all you can really ask for. Obviously, when we have a team in the Detroit Tigers who are as good as they are, 31-16, sometimes you expect sweeps all the time, but the reality is that going to Toronto, taking 2 out of 3, you'd sign up for that any day of the week. Toronto's got some talent. They're going to take, like, sometimes teams are going to take 1, but a 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as a Meatloaf would said. And if you can just stack those series wins as the Tigers have continued to do, you're going to be one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. And that's exactly what the Tigers are. Well, actually, not one of, by record, like things you can quantify, the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? We got Cavassier Chase holding it down in the TD booth. Shout out to KG, JB, and that dude Justin, and our brother Matthew Broder. But Cavassier Chase, one of our Mr. Do It Everything guys. What up, though, man? Detroit Tigers, another series win, brother.
Yeah, how's it going? Tigers got a win. Put the camera on myself. Yeah, Tigers got a win last night. So happy. I mean, I actually didn't watch the game. It was NASCAR All-Star race last night, and that's they're like the one sport that does the All-Star event right. So that was a pretty fun race last night. Christopher Bell, JB's prediction on who he's going to win the championship this year, actually going home with $1 million. So shout out to Christopher Bell. Shout out to JB's, one of JB's drivers.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. You know, not that you didn't want to be tapped into the Tigers, but you and JB are effectively, you've planted the seed for Fast and Loose, our race car coverage, our driving coverage here at the network. And it's I'm glad that you guys are doing this thing, so you were tapped in. And I can't wait for Grand Prix weekend as well.
Yeah, coming up 2 weeks.
Hey,
I want to give a shout out to this. I haven't actually seen this person in the chat, or maybe if I haven't been looking close enough. This is What Up Doe with Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Gunny.
That's one of our he's, you know what, we're gonna give him instant OG status, and he linked up with me on some other platforms too. So shout out to him. Shout out to him. He says he's tapped in. He's gonna be rocking with us, and hopefully there could be some collaboration.
Well, I'll tell you what. It looks like, I'm curious if you want to answer in the chat. It looks like you're in the West Coast right now, because he's saying waking up at 5 a.m. to hear the Woo Crew, heading down to get my first cup of coffee. That is dedication, and that also shows that Detroit sports fans are all over the place. Sometimes you might leave Detroit for opportunities, but Detroit never leaves you.
Yeah, and you know what? When you get those types of messages from people, it's ecstatic, man. It's epic. It shows Woodward Sports is growing, but even more importantly, I believe it shows where Detroit sports is right now. What we see with the Tigers, it's not like we're waiting for them to cash in on potential. This team did that last year. This is just one of the big dog squads this year. And, even the Pistons, we're looking at how the Eastern Conference is shaping up, and shout out to those Knicks for proving to be very, very formidable. And you know what? By transitive property, proving that the Pistons were probably going to be very, very formidable.
Yeah.
But you're looking at how things are shaping up for Detroit sports, and even the Lions, who are now slept on again. I like that spot for them. I absolutely love where we are. And you know what? All goodwill, love, and hope and peace to our dear Red Wings.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, Mitch Marner, you don't want to be in Toronto anymore. You know you don't want to be in Toronto anymore. Come home. But Chuck Brewer in the chat as well. Sam, Tigers keep rolling, but notice what happened to Baez since Neil put on his jersey. I'll tell you, hey, everybody's allowed a little slump. His numbers are still very, very good, but
No, Neil, take the jersey off, bro. Take the jersey off.
I get it. I get it. But yeah, Javi's numbers are still good. I just hope that what he's been able to do all year is that he's avoided that catastrophic slump to where his numbers take a dip and it hurts the team. And so far, even with this mini slump, the Tigers are still winning. I still am happy with what Javi has brought. And hopefully, like I said, he can right the ship. But even if he doesn't, the Tigers have a lot of players who are continuing to perform very, very well. And they got a series win. They got another series win.
Another series win. And this one was one that was interesting to me because I thought they went in with a great opportunity to get a sweep, but I also don't believe that the Toronto Blue Jays are operating right now at their fullest potential. I believe that's going to be a squad that later you look back and we realize that is a really, really good, solid series win. It might not be one of your top line teams that MLB.com likes to point out when they do say that the Tigers are for real and look at their record against those top teams. But in those handle your business series, whether it's the ones that you're supposed to go out there and bludgeon or whether it's the ones that they might be able to give us a little bit of a punch, like when we looked at the Rangers series. This one to me was a little bit similar to that, not facing necessarily the caliber of pitching, but you still want to see this team go out there and know that it's going to be somewhat of a battle, and you still win the series you had a great opportunity to sweep.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the Tigers, and one of the hallmarks of a great baseball team is, no, they didn't play perfect. I mean, man, Reese Olson, and I get it that I'm not going to harp on a loss too much. He pitched brilliantly, and his team let him down. When has that ever happened before? Last year all the time. But, again, not going to harp on that. I'm more happy with the way he pitched. It's just for him I feel bad,
I do. For him personally, especially because last year what it meant to him, and we were saying, look, if this guy can just get that run support consistently, I can't wait to see what he would be. But for me personally, I like the way that you framed that too. It used to happen a lot last year for really all the pitchers, and this year that's been one of the hallmarks and the biggest differences. I'm wondering at what point in time does the baseball world just stop and say the Detroit Tigers are one of the best offensive teams in all of baseball, despite not having some of your calling cards or hallmarks players or multiple bats that you're used to seeing in the lineup. This team is still finding ways to go out there and get your runs, get your hits, and they're not doing it playing necessarily small ball and manufacturing runs. That's been really, really impressive. Now, I know when they have to rely on that, we know what A.J. Hinch can do, but to see these guys go out there and their depth pieces be able to step in and still be able to contribute to, this to me is a hallmark of a really, really good team, and honestly, I believe one of the best offenses in all of baseball.
Yep. Even when they don't play their best, they still manage to win a series. Like in this series, they hit 3 for 23 with runners in scoring position, which is bad. But do you know who else didn't hit with runners in scoring position? The Toronto Blue Jays. And when the Tigers did get those hits, they made it count. Game 1, Riley Greene 2-run double. Game 3 yesterday, Spencer Torkelson really picked up said Riley Greene, who had failed in those situations and got all 3 of the team's RBIs. You love to see that. Those are the hallmarks of a great team. And, of course, when they needed to hit for more power in Game 1, you had solo home runs from Zach McKinstry, Riley Greene, and, hey, shout out Javi Baez.
Yep, and shout out Javi Baez. I see you in the chat, Dante151. I'm going to read this, and then I have a point as well. He says, the Blue Jays and Maple Leafs are eating sad pizza today. Happy Elimination Day, Maple Leafs. Here is a fun stat. The Maple Leafs haven't passed the second round in 9 straight playoffs.
Go ahead, both of you two, because I actually like the Maple Leafs. Go ahead.
Set out that dude.
Go ahead, Justin and Chase.
I will take this moment to have a nice little coronation of Maple Leaf, and it will be a bigger coronation on Big D Energy. There's a lot of hate. Absolutely. in that show, all 5 of us, I believe, are all haters. So that will be very fun. But hey, Toronto Maple Leafs, thank you so much for gifting us some players in the offseason that we'll have the chance to acquire to make our hockey team better, because you guys are obviously not going anywhere. And it has been obvious for the last 9 years that you guys need to blow up your core and do something else. So why don't you just give a couple players to the Red Wings and we'll call it a day, eh? How does that sound, Chase?
And you know what? Yeah, hey, I, that was not on accident. But no, that angle of it, even though, like I said, I feel more bad for the Maple Leafs than anything. And obviously, the Austin Matthews thing is real. 1 goal in 7 games in a series that was winnable. Unfortunately, that's just his reputation right now. And obviously, Mitch Marner is the number 1 target of what at least the Red Wings fans' fever dreams are. Chase, would you like to take an anti-Maple Leafs victory lap while we're here?
Yeah, all I want to say is, Neil,
No
I told you
hesitation.
so. Neil, I told you so. He thought Toronto was going to make it to the Cup final this year. I said no chance they're making it past the second round and getting through Florida. And just as we saw, just like we see every year, if they make it out the first round, they're definitely not making it out the second. So have fun in summer, or have fun this summer in Toronto.
Well, that's the thing. Since 2017, they've only even made it out of the first round twice.
Yeah, I mean, they had the longest time. It was like from 04 to 17 that they hadn't made it out the first round. And they had multiple like awful collapses, like up 3-1 against the Canadiens, against the Boston Bruins, and just some awful choke jobs.
No, being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan is just it's got to be hell right now. Go ahead.
And one more thing. I like to take a positive out of this, though. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Mitch Marner absolutely berating the Maple Leafs bench when they were down 3-0, trying to get a spark out of them. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing the fire out of him, and that's something that Ty McClellan has talked about, the Red Wings needing that type of spark, that level of drive and want to win games. And so that was nice to see from Mitch Marner, and kind of made me feel even more comfortable paying him that level of money. Personally,
No, wake the F up. That's what he was telling his teammates. It was yeah. I mean, he's got to be tired of being there as well. Although, to be fair, there have been plenty of playoff series where he also hasn't stepped up his game. But the Red Wings need to get there, and Mitch Marner would be the best option as far as player, even though you'd have to pay him a ton. He is the prize of free agency. There is no question about it. And Danny G, Maple Leafs are just the Cowboys of the NHL. See, I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think, and I've heard people say that about the Knicks as well. What people forget about the Dallas Cowboys is, yes, they've had a prolonged streak of not even making a conference championship game, even though they're always put on this pedestal that they didn't earn. But one thing that you have to say about the Cowboys is, at least, unlike the Maple Leafs, unlike the Knicks, let me just put this into perspective. The Dallas Cowboys have won 5 Super Bowls since the Leafs last won a cup. The Dallas Cowboys have won at least 3. They've won 4 Super Bowls since the Knicks last won an NBA championship. It's not quite the same. The Cowboys at least have a storied history, which the Toronto Maple Leafs do not.
They have the second most cups in history. They have more than the Red Wings, technically.
That's fair, but they were original 6 merchants. I know we would all agree with that, and that is fair. But the Cowboys have more recent success. But one thing I want to get to now, just about the Tigers, before I become King Petty again.
I want to in the next segment as well talk about these standings too.
Absolutely,
just
because we need to talk about them, and honestly, we could even get to them before the break. But I wanted to tell you that there's a couple of things that really impressed me about this series for the Tigers, and I think I just want to put it out there because if I don't, people are going to say that I forgot, and I think it would be egregious. The Tigers starting pitching versus the Blue Jays this series, and Chase, if you've got that, would you throw that up, please?
Yeah,
Jack Flaherty, 5 2/3, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Reese Olson, 6 innings, 0 earned, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. Jackson Jobe, 6 innings, 2 earned, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks. In the total for the series, the Detroit Tigers starting pitching went 17 2/3 with a 2.04 ERA and a strikeout to walk ratio of 4.3 to 1. And none of those starts were Tarek Skubal starts. And that's been one of the most important things about this season, really solidifying the fact that it's not just Skubal. They have a great pitching staff. Casey Mize, when healthy, has looked like a ace caliber pitcher. That's the caliber of pitching that on a lot of staffs would be the absolute ace. Jack Flaherty's been a little bit up and down, but he had a bounce back. Reese Olson has been great. And Jackson Jobe, even though his numbers aren't there, his ERA is over 4, but somehow, some way, the Tigers have an 8-0 record when he starts. That's an insane stat. And some of that is due to he's a little bit luckier than most. But I'll tell you what, he's also had a lot of really, really good pitching performances. And this one against the Toronto Blue Jays, where they needed all of his innings. And some were a little bit precarious at times, and he was able to get out of it. Shout out to this Tigers starting pitching staff. They were fantastic, and honestly, they did enough for a sweep. But you'll take 2 out of 3 any day of the week.
Yeah, definitely, especially when there's been times where they won series that they could have had sweeps where pitching didn't get it done, but the bats did. It's cool to see this team being able to pick each other up, pick up both sides of this thing, to be able to give the Tigers opportunities more times than not to win series. Is what I want to do. Probably going to take some time, that I do justice. Maybe this will be a good graphic. Just how many series they've played versus how many wins. It's got to be stupendously lopsided. There's only a handful.
They've only lost 2 series, I believe.
That's it. It might have been 3. It was the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, the Rangers, they lost that one. They also...
Yeah, I think it was just the Dodgers and the Rangers from my memory.
The Brewers, they lost a series to the Brewers, and they lost a series to the Astros. So
less than a handful.
I believe they're 11-4 in series this year, which is... That's stupid. That's like a 100... Like, some of the best teams you think of in MLB history don't even play at that kind of a pace to start the year.
I see a couple super chats here before we take a quick one and get back, because I'm intrigued for what's next, man. I want to definitely let the people know about the standings on the other side of it too. I saw somebody earlier saying, just put it back in the chat, and I'll read it when we come back from break, who said the Tigers are putting a little bit of distance between themselves and everybody else in the Central. There are the greatest margin of effectively being ahead in your, between 1 and number 2 in all the divisions. The Yankees lead by 5 over the Red Sox, and the Tigers lead by 5 games over the Twins, who've passed up the Guardians, which is interesting. So
that is very interesting.
Nobody, $2 super chat. He says, Sam, we don't give a F. It's Dallas. They can suck it.
No, absolutely. But I'm a firm believer in what's true. Obviously, they can suck it. Obviously, they've been fraudulent more times in the last 30 years than probably any franchise. But they're not the Leafs. The Leafs are actually, any time outside of Original Six, a terrible, terrible franchise. They've won nothing since the Original 6 days. When I still can't even wrap my head around a time where there were 6 NHL teams. You had a 16.6% chance of winning the title. You can get a lot done when you have that little of competition.
I see Randall Smalls, and I agree with you. $5 super chat. I told you this staff was great in spring training, Sam. And honestly, for the pitching staff, that was what we believed was going to be able to carry them. When we talked about their aspirations, when we set the early season expectations so we could start to at least create some base narrative for how we were going to cover this thing, it was that we believed the pitching was going to be able to carry this team very similarly to last year, but more consistently. We knew that early part of the season, that pitching was on fire. And then it started to tail off. Some of the pitchers that we fell in love with early, friends of the network even so, they started to tail off, and then you got some injuries, you got some people going into slumps, and then they picked it back up after the trade deadline, both the pitching and the bats, and we know that the rest was history. They were the best team over a 40-game stretch. Now you're starting off this year, and they are still the best team over a 40-game stretch.
Yeah,
it's insane, man.
Hey, 47 games. Just keep stacking up those series wins, and the fact that they're getting themselves a little bit of a cushion in the AL Central it's huge, because we know they're not going to play quite like this the whole season, or at least you don't think. But you love to see it. You love to see the Twins finally take an L, because they were on an absolute heater. But I also think that, I don't know, the Twins, obviously they've got some talent. You're looking at Byron Buxton. If he stays healthy, he's having himself a hell of a year, but that's a big if with him. I get it. They could be good, but I don't see them finishing anything above like 7 to 8 games over 500. And And that's just me. That 13-game winning streak took them out of a big hole. It's not like they were 500 and now are a great team. They had to have it in order for them to even be in contention. But things like that tend to even out.
Tigers are the best. You know what? For lunch, Buddy's is the best. Buddy's Pizza has been serving the original Detroit-style pizza since 1946. And 79 years later, they have 22 locations in this great state of pure Michigan. And fans can still visit where it all began on the corner of 6 Mile and Conant. Sign up for Buddy's Rewards to earn points on every purchase and receive exclusive promotions. Download the Buddy's Pizza mobile app and start earning today. And before you get to that free pizza, free promotions, and all of that, make sure you add some Detroit style to your next meal and save 10% while doing so. All you got to do, enter promo code 10MEAL. That's the number 10 MEAL. Buddy'sPizza.com.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
No one gives away more cash and prizes than Woodward Sports. You don't believe us? Here's our latest $10,000 winner.
You know, you guys posted, hey, if you guess all this stuff right, we'll give it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, well, why the hell not?
And the winning doesn't stop there. How about our Outkick Your Coverage winner?
I think you won. We got Tully, everybody. This guy's got a hot girl.
Bigger prizes, bigger giveaways, cash, merch, tickets, and more. All from the biggest sports network in Detroit. No one does it bigger and better than Woodward Sports. Make sure you're following, liking, subscribing on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for your chances to share in the winning. From Detroit's #1 sports network, Woodward Sports.
Hey, Tony, what's up, bro?
Same circus, different clowns.
For sure. You want the usual, the big zip?
You know me too well. Oh.
I threw a little something extra in there for your ma.
Oh,
Hope
man.
she's doing all right.
Ay, guy, sei un santo. You're a saint.
All right, buddy, we'll see you next time, okay?
Grazie.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Back here to talk to you guys about jars with 27 locations scattered all across the state of Michigan. You can shop in-store or order online, get it delivered right to your door at shopjars.com. Go to jarscannabis.com. Check out Jars Life on Instagram. Stay tapped in. Go pick up that DMAC pack at the various locations. They got it across the 9 different Metro Detroit stores here in the surrounding area. And they've got a ton of other great brands. I think, if you guys are, like I said, that DMAC pack, check out some other infused live resin. Hopefully that Mad Pack's will be coming to Jars soon. So stay tapped in. Shopjars.com.
And what up, though, people? We are back. It is Wake Up Woodward, and we appreciate y'all for choosing to kick off the day with the Woo Crew. And you know what? We just going ahead, and whether Kavase knows how to do it or not, that dude, Justin. Let's make sure the people know to satisfy that like button, man.
All right, I will do my best KG impression. I am no KG. That voice of KG's rolls off like it is some honey, but I will try. I'll try. Hey, why don't you smash that like button for us? You know it's early, but you got to satisfy what gets up in the morning. Everybody gets up, and we got to satisfy that like button. So satisfy it real quick for us. Thank you very much.
Let's go. We had to set the mood a little bit.
And totally forgot to do this in the open. That was my bad. But there were a couple people asking about Lions talk. We will get to that. There's a little bit of maybe chatter surrounding one Mr. Alex Anzalone, and we're going to talk about that. He hasn't reported OTAs. Is that a big deal? Is that no deal? He is on his contract year. We will break that down. And if we can get to it, there was also, actually we should be able to get to it because there's no JB, so that means know what's trending, unfortunately. There's and this is more of a fun topic. Woodward Sports put out a bunch of graphics about best quarterback, best running back, best receiver, best tight end. And I thought as a crew, we could break down the Woodward Sports ranking of best quarterbacks in the NFL. And was our own network a little disrespectful to one Mr. Jared Goff? Not going to give my answer quite yet, but it's an interesting list, and a lot of you have probably already saw that. But before we get to me being King Petty a bit again about this guy and a certain media personality who I like but is still continuing to tweet nonsense, one person that I got to give credit to, because if I forget, people are going to get on me for it. How about that first inning defensive masterclass from Akil Baddoo yesterday?
What are you doing in my car?
Hey, yeah, absolutely. And this doesn't mean that Akil Baddoo is good. This doesn't mean that he's going to really play much of a role throughout the season, because obviously when Vierling gets back and Meadows, Baddoo is going to be sent down. But sometimes when you have a team like this, you need an unsung hero to just maybe play a couple of games and make some plays. The bottom of the first inning, after the Tigers had taken a 2-0 lead, Jackson Jobe lets the first two runners on base, first and second, nobody out, and Dalton Varsho just absolutely crushes one. It looks like it's going to be a bases-clearing double or triple, but Akil Baddoo absolutely skies the wall, robs Dalton Varsho. No, unbelievable play, which leads to first and second, one out. And then on the very next batter, it's Alejandro Kirk. He hits a line drive that looks like it's going to fall in for a base hit. Akil Baddoo dives, catches the ball, and then doubles off Bo Bichette at second. Everybody knows that people call me the guy who doesn't like defense. And I think over the course of a season, if you're a great defender but can't hit, I still don't think you have that much use on a baseball team. And when I mean can't hit, I mean catastrophically can't hit. But for one game and for one inning, I will even admit, the Tigers don't win that game without Akil Baddoo's defensive brilliance. And I can say that while also saying I don't want him on this team long term. But shout out Akil Baddoo.
Shout out.
Salute to you. You saved the game in the first inning. I know it's hard to say save the game in the first inning, but if Akil Baddoo doesn't do what he does, it's at least probably 2 or 3 runs for the Blue Jays. And then we never know how the game ends up shaping out.
And shout out as well to Spencer Torkelson and Dylan Dingler. You guys always know whenever I get an opportunity to be able to shout out the godson from another mother, we're going to do that. Led the Tigers in hits last night as well. But seeing a guy like Spencer Torkelson to a team that is absolutely right now owning the league, I keep waiting for the regression or the slump that's going to allow some other teams to be able to take a nip at the Tigers' heels, but I just haven't seen it yet. They continue to, what's the phrase now? Most of our teams, handle your business. And Torque, I don't know. If you have a team, because I'm going to read off these standings here. Yeah. If you have a squad that is 5 games up in your own division, that's tied for the largest lead in any division with the Yankees, who are 5 games up on the Red Sox. You look at the overall league, you're 3.5 games up on the Yankees, man. 3.5. Yeah. Your division is no slouch, which means those wins are going to be valued at a premium because we said it. That Central's going to start to percolate. And you get beyond the Yankees in Seattle, and who do you see? The Twins, the Guardians, and the Royals as to round off your top 5 teams right now in the AL. And when you get to the overall league, those Detroit Tigers are a full 2 games up on both the Mets and the Dodgers for the best record in baseball. At what point in time is it for real? Where do you really start to understand this more than conversation or conjecture, but that someone like a Spencer Torkelson has earned a trip to All-Star Weekend?
If the season ended today, he would be an All-Star. And what I've loved about a couple of things that I've loved about Spencer Torkelson's season, because he deserves continued credit. I mean, he leads the team in OPS. He's been your best offensive player for sure. Obviously, I already talked about it in Sunday's game. He provided all of the offense. He provided the only clutch hitting. He was great. All 3 RBIs were Spencer Torkelson's. But even in that game on Saturday where they did lose, they only scored 1 run. The one person who you can't put any blame on is Torque, because he hit a Torque bomb. He did his job. It was just the rest of the team that wasn't able to get the bats going at all. And in that game, they were 0 with runners in scoring position. And Spencer Torkelson, one thing that he's done consistently the whole year is he's continued to supply the power. Even when he's slumping a little bit, he's continued to get on base via the walk. He's got a very high on-base percentage, especially relative to his batting average. And he hasn't really fallen off. Obviously, he was never going to maintain a 1,000 OPS pace, but he's still in the high 800s. He's still putting up some of the best stats of any player in the MLB. He's still in MVP consideration if the season ended today. I think that he's ultimately going to parlay this into an all-star appearance because I think he is what he is. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that hits a high average. I think, though, that he's going to make the most out of his hits and that he's going to continue to show that plate discipline in which he's really mastered this year. That's what he's going to be, in my opinion. But this is enough. This is enough for him to be an all-star this year. This is enough for him to be the first baseman of the future and to be consistent and for all of Detroit to love and embrace him pretty much as long as he's here and to impact winning, which he has this season. So shout out to Torque. Even though a lot of us had some doubts before the season, myself included, I'm still continuing to apologize and I'm going to appreciate what I see. He's been fantastic.
And, another player as well who's been of hot topic, and you have that jersey on right now, Riley Greene. A couple hits last night. And when you just look at the stats overall, the OPS, 35th in the league, tied for 19th in RBIs, tied for 13th in home runs, tied for 54th average. You would have me believe that based on some of the discourse that this man had fallen off a cliff, but you look at the stats, you look at the Tigers winning, and you realize maybe a little bit of that is just overblown. Maybe we're too focused in on game by game and not necessarily focusing on the overall effect that Riley Greene as well as the other bats on this team are having towards the success we see out of the Tigers.
And obviously my part-time job now is defending Riley Greene. And I understand that, and I get it.
I have the K Crusader cape in my closet. Shout out to K.
And I appreciate you, Kool-Aid, for, I know the chat's not going to do it, but you gave me grace to have one emotional moment about Riley Greene when I was literally heartbroken by his slump, and I said some things that I didn't mean. So, Chad already knows this.
We got your back, bro. We knew it, man.
But I am self-aware enough that I can't victory lap pants around ankles, shout out Sean Belizean, the way that I want to. But what I can do is give some perspective. Chris Castellani is somebody that I really respect. I think that he's great at what he does. But I think Chris Castellani right now, at least when it comes to Riley Greene, is a good example of not knowing how to root for a great baseball team. And in the case of Chris Castellani, he was there when they were terrible. He was there putting out those reaction videos. He's great at what he does. I got nothing but respect for him. He is a friend of the network as well. But Chris Castellani, during this Blue Jays series, he was tweeting some things that I think were a little bit unfair. And this comes after the Red Sox series in which he said, we need to start having a conversation about how Riley Greene is not clutch at all. But this is what he was putting up. Riley is having a wonderful year, but he's pretty much an automatic out against lefties right now, batting 189 now and 53 at-bats against left-handed pitching. That was in the middle of the Blue Jays series. And remind you, they won that series 2-1. And this is another one in which he didn't come through with runners in scoring position, which, fine, whatever. The team picked him up, particularly Spencer Torkelson. Or Spencer Torkelson was the one that picked him up. And this is what Chris Castellani put out. These are the situations where Greene needs to improve. Runners on and high leverage against the lefty, gotta find a hole. And then when he struck out, he subtweeted, a hole was not found. And I understand. If you want to talk about how Riley Greene's clutch numbers aren't as good this year as they were last year, that's fair. If you want to say that he struggled a little bit against left-handed pitching, that is also fair. However, I think sometimes facts can be manipulated to really rile people up and to I don't know, just provides no context and are just done for no reason other than you're just emotional in a baseball game. Because all of his left-handed, again, I'm not saying that he's been good against left-handed pitching. I'm not saying that he's been necessarily as good in the clutch as he was last year, but I'll tell you what else. And this is where I have to start out with Riley Greene. How do you think he did against the Blue Jays this series? Judging by Chris Castellani, you'd think that he was like 0 for 12 with multiple strikeouts. What was he actually? He had a slash line when it comes to average on-base percentage and OPS of 308, 357, 1.049, and the Tigers won the series 2-1. If you would have told me that before the series, you know what I would have said and what all of you should have said? I love the Tigers. I love Riley Greene. How about on the full season? Because I got some numbers too, Mr. Castellani, that it's funny how you didn't highlight those. You just wanted to highlight some of his struggles. How about in terms of where he ranks in the American League this season? Because you went to like the full of Major League Baseball. I'm just going to go to the American League. Home runs, he's tied for 6th. RBIs, he is 6th. Slugging percentage, he's 13th. OPS, he's 16th. Hits, he's 12th. Runs, he's tied for 14th. And granted, this is in the entire American League. And his average last season was 262. This season, it's 275. And this was an all-star season, by the way. OPS last season, 827. OPS this season, 839. So he's improved in a couple of facets on an all-star season. And the Tigers' record this season is 31-16. What are we talking about? What are we complaining about? What are we nitpicking about? That's what I don't get. Because things like clutch hitting and against left-handed pitching tend to even out over a long season. I'm not done, by the way. How about Riley Greene in the month of May, in which the same month where Chris Castellani is choosing to like nitpick every single hole? Riley Greene in May, in terms of his numbers, average on-base percentage OPS, 305, 379, 1.006. I'd say that at least thus far in May, those are MVP style numbers. And the Tigers' record in the month of May is 12-4. Riley Greene is actually having a better season than he had last year. Riley Greene is having an MVP style April in which the Tigers are 12-4. And Chris Castellani still wants to talk nonsense during games about nitpicking. And that's what I don't like. Appreciate this man. Appreciate what he's done. And stop picking little holes in their games. Because I'll tell you what, if the Tigers were not a good team and Riley Greene was putting up a lot of numbers on a bad team, I can get with what Castellani is saying. But the Tigers are the best team in baseball. And Riley Greene so far this year has objectively been their second best offensive player next to Spencer Torkelson. Yeah, what are we talking about, Castellani?
And that's why I said a lot of times you just have to zoom out. Baseball is a fickle sport. Baseball is a type of sport where your best players can go on a slump for 2 weeks and still at the end of the season, multiple times in the season, and still at the end of the season, when all things balance out, still be the best player. And that's where when you call out the series stats, that's what I said, zoom out a little bit from the game to game. I know that we're going to have our emotions, and maybe that's what he's riding. Just the emotions of the game to game. But in the grand scheme of things is where I believe that it can undermine just a little bit. When you see who Riley Greene is, you know what? He played to an all-star level last year. And in this season, if things pick up a little bit because of who he was in the past, maybe he gets a certain type of nod this year, especially with how good the Detroit Tigers are. But to me, it's about the effectiveness and who he is in that lineup. Is he making pitchers work? When he steps to that plate, we know that the pitchers are saying, oh, crap, Riley Greene is here. It's not just a field day for him. These things do change the little complexities of the game. And, I wish, sometimes I love talking to Broder about that stuff because from his perspective as a pitcher, he'll tell you how much that stuff matters when you see a player step up into the plate who if you have a mistake, he's ending it. So these pitchers have to tense up. They have to tighten up. They have to be on point because you know that if you make a mistake, this guy's an opportunity to capitalize on it. And that does help the whole way that everything else was. We talked about in the past having dead spots in our lineup and how that affected the way the pitchers were able to attack the Tigers. This is where, I give everybody their ability to be emotional from game to game. But it's like when you look at who Riley Greene is, I do agree with you on this. Our players deserve to be appreciated more. they've all blown through all of our expectations now for the Tigers for multiple seasons to this point now, for about a season and a half, or a season and a third. For the Pistons, they just blew through expectations. And what do we have fans doing? That's so much more different than what I saw maybe a decade or even two ago. People just they're not quick to even support the stars, let alone the role players. Everybody's quick to have somebody shipped out. Everybody's quick to have somebody demoted. And that's where I'm like, I think that we're missing what makes seeing these teams grow from nothing into the special teams. You're missing that. Sometimes you just got to stop and see what makes this thing so special. What were the ups and the downs? What did these people go through in terms of the adversity and such? And let this thing play itself out, because it seems like everybody wants to judge this thing in a vacuum and not in the right one. They're the best team in baseball, period.
They are the best team in baseball. And Charles McClain, because you said something about me not reading your comments, I will actually read these two because I think that they are important. Last year, Riley never had anyone to pick him up. This year, he does. And I will say the second half of the season, once Parker Meadows got going and Carpenter, whenever he was playing, even Torkelson at the end of the year, Veerling at times, they had people who picked him up at times. But I've always said, and that to me furthers the point, Riley Greene does not get enough credit for last season. He was the first positional player all-star for the Tigers, real one, since 2017, and he led the Tigers in every major statistical hitting category on a team that made the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. And for the record, in moments like yesterday where Riley Greene failed with runners in scoring position, Spencer Torkelson picked him up. But I would argue that he's playing, in a lot of ways, Riley Greene better than he did last year, and he has people to pick him up. And that's why the Tigers are 31-16. And
that's not even the June or July. Like, it's not hot bat season yet. Like, we know when it's sundress season. It's not quite sundress season yet. You'll see some people, maybe somebody over here, somebody over there, but you know that the baddies of all the baddies is when the summer hits and everybody's out at the beach. Let's get to the beach. Let's get to the summer for Riley Greene, because he's one of those guys who I do believe is going to see when that sun starts to warm up, when the summertime is here. That's when I do believe we're going to see the best of Riley Greene. And in post All-Star break, post trade deadline, these are the times that I look to really to judge who Riley Greene is going to be. And then as we get into the playoffs, not right now. Right now, you look at the numbers and you see this is a guy who's going to be one of your top players on your team, one of the top in your division, one of the top in your league. This is what you need. This is part of the recipe to get this team to the next level. And I saw you over there, Kavasi Chase. What up, though, brother?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what Sam was saying as far as, reading some comments from the chat. We got a couple of super chats, so I was just going to read off real fast. I don't know if we said this one or not already, but $5 from Rando Smalls. I told you this staff was great in spring training, Sam.
Yep.
Another $5 super chat from Rando. The Tigers are dangerous because they have confidence and they're gaining more daily. And then our guy Byrne sent another $5 in. Baseball is just the ultimate role player folk hero sport. One play by a 4A guy can determine the entire series, and then you never see him again.
Yeah, I mean, let's even look at last season. And I don't have the World Series numbers quite in front of me yet, but let's look at last season with the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani didn't even have a great World Series statistically.
No, Freddie Freeman dominated.
Absolutely. But You know who else continues to get big hits in the playoffs year after year after year for the Los Angeles Dodgers? Kike Hernandez. Kike Hernandez is like that classic playoff elevator when in reality he's never been more than just a role player in Major League Baseball. And that tends to happen. I mean, the Atlanta Braves in 2021 won a World Series without Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, Jorge Soler was their World Series
Jorge
MVP.
Soler. I forgot who won it in 2018 for the Red Sox.
Steve Pearce.
Yeah, and Mookie Betts wasn't even that great in the World Series that year. So that tends to happen. Yeah, shout out Chase. That's a good poll by you. But yeah, and Chuck Brewer in the chat, because he seems to disagree with me on some things. He says all stars are judged differently or harsher. People need to stop nitpicking Cade then. And you know what? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Nobody has been, no person has been more on that train than us two up here. That when it comes to Cade Cunningham, you can point out some flaws in his first ever playoff series, but you can't deny that he also showed a lot. I mean, look at Game 2. He had his most efficient scoring day of the playoffs, and they won. You look at Game 5. Even though the first 3 quarters he wasn't great, he was dominant in the fourth quarter, and he helped close it out. And when you look at his overall playoff numbers, they weren't bad. They were actually good when it comes to the counting stats. There were some things that you can look at and be like, ooh, that 3-point percentage has to get better. Ooh, those turnover numbers need to get a little bit better. But Cade Cunningham, I agree with you. And I felt the exact same way about Aiden Hutchinson in 2023 during his 11.5 sack season. You see a trend with me. If you're overhated amongst your fan base, usually you endear yourself to old Flannel Sam. And if you become somebody who gets too much credit, like Don Kelly, you do the opposite to old Flannel Sam. Did you see people at our network even just blowing their wads over the fact that he got ejected? Seek help.
They were ejecting over Don Kelly's ejection.
Shout out to Donnie Kelly.
Control your emotions, Donnie Kelly, baby. You can't be getting.
You can't stop Donnie Kelly.
You can't be getting ejected twice in a series. Come on.
But no, you're right. I think it's a little bit of the scorn that comes with our teams being down bad for so long. Like, I think about the generations of people who were growing up hearing about how good the 04 Pistons were, seeing a little bit of the Tigers in 08 through, and then realizing, like, oh, crap, it's not like that. A lot of hope, a lot of draft picks, a lot of money spent even before you get the A.J. Hinch era in here, and a lot of nothing, though. You know, even the Lions for a long time. That was just a franchise where everybody was just hoping, every generation. So I wonder how much of that scorns the fans into wanting it now. Like, if they feel like they're owed something, they've gone almost a decade out. You remember Jeff and I, we used to have these talks on Woodward Pistons, and I was like, yo, my bad, because I'm not being real to your perspective. You haven't seen what I've seen. You've only seen the Pistons suck. Literally, you've only seen them trade. You hear about the 04 Pistons. You're finally old enough to, like, look at them, and then they trade Chauncey for AI. And so now I realize, I'm like, people, I think, are scorned, and I do believe that people want it now because Detroit loves their teams. They support their teams. They're still wearing the jerseys. Like, my kids are walking around at the beginning of the year in a 34 Tobias Harris jersey. I was like, you can't do that yet. let them actually, you know, play well through the season and things of that nature before we wear that one to the arena. But, you know, that's how it was, though. He's back here. He's our guy again. And I think that we want that instant gratification because of how long it's been down, to the point that we start sometimes to turn on guys like Cade Cunningham, Riley Greene, and Aiden Hutchinson. Think about how crazy that sounds. But we've seen it. We've literally seen it.
I've got scar tissue. I will never forget, ever. I'm an elephant. Never forgets. But JT Olson in the chat, noted Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Shout out for you being here, though, by the way. Flannel Sam is anti-facts. Wow. I think he's talking about when I dismiss the against lefties and with runners in a scoring position. His Riley Greene's at times clutch struggles this season. But I'll tell you what, I gave some counterfacts to where he is playing at an all-star level on the best team in baseball. And in the month of May, he has stepped it up to where he's even, if you're an 1,000 OPS guy for an entire month, which the month is not over yet, by the way, but if he can maintain that, then you had an MVP style month, and the Tigers are 12-4 in said month. I think that's what we need to focus on. This is baseball. This isn't college football. This is baseball. It's the ultimate game of highs and lows. It's like all Riley Greene has to really do, if you want to get some of those numbers up, is to have one game where he's, 2 for 3 against lefties with an extra base hit. And all of a sudden, his numbers look a lot better. But at the end of the day, in such a long season, in baseball, more than really any other sport, I'm a big fan of the totality of what you do. Because everything tends to even itself out.
Yep.
And I got those May stats for you, Flannel.
What's up?
I got those May stats for you.
Hey.
For Mr. Green?
For Mr. Green, 305 average, 379 on base percentage, 1,006 OPS, 5 home runs, and 14 RBIs.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Meh.
Not bad. Impacting winning.
Let me stop.
Impacting winning. And hey, even in...
Let's go.
And if I want to go real micro about it, even in that Friday game against the Blue Jays, the only hit with runners in scoring position in that entire game was Mr. Riley Greene. He helped blow it open, take it from a 2-0 lead to a 4-0 lead after he had already started the scoring with a solo shot. So
people want everything. They want it all. They those are the times that are minimized. You're not going to hear people championing those. You're only going to see those times when it's not done. And, it's a sign sometimes of a great player, the fact that they hear that noise too. They understand that they're getting that criticism. They understand that fans want them to be the perfect player. And the fact that these guys like Cade Cunningham has continued to step it up. Now he's an all-star. Now he's an all-NBA player. Aiden Hutchinson was on an absolute tear. Riley Greene. Look, these guys put in the work. But people still want more because they believe that in them. And the fact that these guys are actually going out there and giving them more. The fact that I know I can trust in all three of those players. I could go and lay down the money that all those three of those players are going to make sure everybody eats their words. Like that to me is what ultimately I love about the discourse that we're even having. You could bring it up about Riley Greene and Chris Castellani, but realistically, we've seen this across all of our sports. I don't know who we can do this with about the Red Wings, but at least with the other three teams, yeah. And I don't know if I should do this, but what up, though? With Detroit Gunny says, Don Kelly is a legend in Detroit folklore. And then DNCNT says, Riley Greene is auralist. Should we ask the people who has more aura, Riley Greene or Donnie Kelly?
What do you think the people are going to say? What do you think the people are going to say?
I was going to say I shouldn't do it. Guys, scratch that from the record. I never said that. Yep. You don't have to respond to that in the chats at all.
Yep.
But
hey, Mark in the chat, Green, Torkelson, and Baez will have up and downs throughout the season, but will lead us to the World Series in the end. Hey, I don't hate it. There's no reason why the Tigers at least can't get there. And when they and if they get there, you never know what type of matchup you're going to get. Every team in Major League Baseball, including the Tigers, by the way, have flaws. The Dodgers, they're not infallible. The Yankees certainly are not infallible. The Mets, not infallible. Are all of those teams really damn good? Absolutely. Are they formidable? 100%. But there's really no reason why we can limit the ceiling of this year's Tigers team. And who knows? Maybe they'll even add something at the deadline. I know that would make Justin happy, and I think that would make a lot of us happy as well. But there's no reason to limit the ceiling of this team. And I agree with you, Mark. I agree. They've all the players that you've mentioned have been great this year. Certainly with Torque and Javi have way outshot expectations. Riley Greene continues to play at an all-star level, and that's the recipe for 31-60. That's insane, by the way. 31-16. That's the best record in baseball. No, Parker Meadows and Matt Vierling haven't played an inning, haven't seen a pitch at the major league level. What the Tigers are doing is remarkable.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to Mark, too. He's remarkable, man. Our chat fan.
Hey,
I saw his comments. Remarkable? You see what I did? I saw some comments earlier in the chat, and he was really boosting us. I appreciate your support of this network and the homegrown shows between Wake Up Woodward and Heavyweights, man. Thank you guys for supporting us this morning. I know we got a lot of TLB on the menu.
Absolutely. TLB. We're going to talk about one Mr. Alex Anzalone. Is him missing OTA something or nothing? Are some of his cryptic tweets something or nothing? Is the fact that it just happens to be at the same time as he's going into his contract year in a contract in which he's proven to be underpaid something or nothing? It could all be nothing, but I'll tell you what. There's a lot. The Alex Anzalone situation, there are just a lot of layers.
And Brad Holmes holds all the cards.
Yes.
He set himself up so well.
Absolutely.
Goodness. But what friends we got to say what I'm doing to?
We got to say what's up to merch.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey,
merch. So go to woodwardsports.com/shop. Check out all the latest and hottest gear from Woodward Sports. Woodward Wings, Woodward Tigers, your Let's Go or LFGR Red Wings hoodies. It's golf season coming out, so they got polos and other golf wear to get out on the links with. So check out shop.woodwardsports.com. Get tapped in with all of the latest from Woodward Sports.
Big Injuries? Big news. Twice a week, Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine joins Woodward Sports Network for the Injury Insider Report. Big D Energy Tuesdays at noon, and Armani and Edwards with Maz Thursdays at 3:30. Get expert analysis and in-depth breakdowns on the latest sports injuries from the man trusted by top athletes in the community, like D-Mac. Whether it's the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, or Red Wings, Dr. Pierce talks us through it all. Don't miss the Injury Insider Report with Dr. Jeff Pierce, your go-to source for understanding the impact of injuries on the games and players we love. Only on Woodward Sports Network. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to MichiganSportsandSpine.com to see if Dr. Jeff Pierce can help you.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in the clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
WoodwardSports.com and click on Shop. Get the latest in Detroit sports apparel and exclusive Woodward Sports gear. WoodwardSports.com can get the whole team outfitted. Love the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers? We got something for you, too. Shop online at WoodwardSports.com. The most talked about Detroit media by other Detroit media, and we love it. It's the Woodward Sports Network.
Fitness that fits your budget. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. At Planet Fitness, you experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, friendly, knowledgeable staff, and a totally judgment-free atmosphere. Did you know that all Planet Fitness memberships include fitness training for no extra cost? Want all the perks? Upgrade to the PF Black Card and enjoy use of amenities such as unlimited use of the Black Card Spa, featuring hydro massage, massage chairs, and total body enhancement, and more, along with access to over 2,500 locations worldwide and unlimited guest privileges. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com.
What up, though, people? It's Wake Up Woodward. We're back at it. It's time to TLB. Who's gonna tee that up for me, man? Word to our brother Broder. Let's see. Flannel Sam.
Talk Lions, bitch.
Hey, I love it. That was one of the greatest hot mics of all time. But just before we get to those Kings of the Jungle, just a little bit more for the other Jungle Cats, those Tigers. Dante151 sends in a $4.99 super chat. He says, also, people need to realize that Greene is challenging Torque in home runs. And it's helping Torque because we're on track to have two players now with 20-plus homers.
Hey, we're going to have more than that, I think, because we need to be talking about Torque and Riley Greene as two that could potentially have 30. And if you want to include Kerry Carpenter in that as well, they're all three on pace. You can only go, and we all know what type of power hitter Kerry Carpenter has shown himself to be. And Torque's already hit 30. Riley Greene hit 24 in 137 games last year. That was one of the concerns coming into the year. I thought it was a little bit of an overblown concern, but you could have three players with 30-plus home runs. Wouldn't shock me at all.
And do you have any expectations for that you're willing to set for one Mr. Parker Meadows? When he returns, what is he, about maybe second half of the season outlook, post All-Star break?
I can't do that yet because what we're going to need from Parker Meadows is not what I thought we were going to need. I'm going to need to see when he comes back, where he fits in under this lineup, who loses playing time. Does Parker Meadows even play every day? Those are some questions that nobody ever thought we were going to have. But can you take Javi's bat out of the lineup right now? I'd say no. Can you take Zach McKinstry's bat out of the lineup?
Fire up.
He's fallen off a little bit. Shout out, Chips. He's fallen off a little bit, but he's still putting up some really good numbers.
Yeah,
he's still putting up good numbers.
It's to that same point that we're talking about as well. When we zoom out and we just look at what this team is overall, we know that all these names have helped the Tigers get to this point. But Meadows is a name, though.
And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying keep Meadows in the minors. I'm just saying that when he does come up, is he going to be every single day put him in the lineup, or is he going to be a little bit more platoon? And you feel bad for the guy because you wish that he was somebody who would have actually been able to be on the field for these games. But it's not like Matt Vierling, where I think he's going to get a spot because he can play the infield. He's going to get most of the starts at third base. With Parker Meadows, I mean, especially with Javi Baez's defense, that's something I don't think any of us ever expected. He's been a great center fielder in defense, a great defensive center fielder, and he still has an OPS over 800.
And just real quick, Mark asks, is Matt Vierling an immediate starter coming back?
I think so, but I think so.
I think they're all platoon players coming back. Honestly, I don't
Meadows
think that
Vierling.
I don't. Meadows has a better chance of being an everyday starter, but you don't know how he's gonna be coming off the injury, coming back to that pitching. You might want to just put him in positive situations where you have him facing off against right-handed pitching and giving him those at bats to let him kind of come back and get re-established in this lineup before you really put him in those tough scenarios where he's taking at-bats off lefties as well, and you just kind of want to ease him into the lineup. I think that's a way that you could definitely see the Tigers going because of the way that everyone else is playing, and you don't really have a need for Parker Meadows right now. He's just and Vierling, they're both kind of luxury pieces at this point as to how well this Tigers team is playing.
Do I think, though, that they're going to need them at some point? Yes, I do.
Oh, no doubt. You'll need both of them.
But, Justin, you're 100% right. It's the – God, you never want some of your most important pieces from such a memorable season to lose playing time because of injury, even when they do come back. But, man, it just also speaks to the depth on this team, because I don't think Parker Meadows and Matt Vierling are going to come back and not be what they've been.
Yeah, Meadows and Vierling. Think about what that means for AJ Hinch in the playoffs. The different just mind games he can play, the different tweaks to the lineup if he has to call somebody in to pinch hit and things. Like, you got some dogs. When we talk about that next man up, they got a lot of that, especially when they get healthy. And it's to be seen what happens at this trade deadline. Because if there is a pinch, they have the ability to relieve themselves. But, I say roll with your dogs who got you there. Roll with the people who are part of this identity. And that's something that the Detroit Lions, a lot of question right now is coming up about their identity. One person on that defense, and for this team in general, Alex Anzalone, he was one of those players early on that the organization believed in, that the fans were like, who? For a few seasons. And they were like, man, we got to upgrade. And then we saw Alex Anzalone block out the noise and become the best linebacker, become one of the team leaders, and become one of those guys that made the rest of the NFL cry. And then we saw them bring in Jack Campbell, and they started this narrative last year. Oh, he's like a green dot now. But we saw what happened when Alex Anzalone went out. I appreciate Jack Campbell, but there was a difference when Alex Anzalone wasn't there, and when they got him back just with the freaking looking like Bucky Barnes with the freaking thing on his arm. Like, it was different when he was back there. And what did they say? Look at all this pressure they're able to manufacture, getting pressure on the quarterback. Why? Because Alex Anzalone is so smart, and obviously with some stuff that's going on social media from Alex Anzalone, he's been absent from OTAs.
Yeah.
Last year of his contract, got some kind of nice linebackers in the drafts ahead you could look at, as well as free agents, Jack Campbell, and some of the young dogs you just kind of re-upped with. Should we be worried about it? Is this an issue? Or should we be concerned about what this means for this season and if he decides to hold out?
I can't believe that Alex Anzalone will hold out. And it's not necessarily the end of the world that he's missing OTAs. I don't think he was present at the 2024 OTAs as well. But one thing that I have gathered, and I understand that social media isn't always real life. Everybody knows that Alex Anzalone, early on in his career, his first year with the Detroit Lions, struggled big time, especially in his first year with the Lions. And that means that what the Lions were able to do is that once he proved something in 2022, once he took a leap, the Lions were able to sign him for cheap. I mean, he's 3 years, $18 million. That's an absolute bargain for the production you've gotten out of Alex Anzalone. And Alex Anzalone, because he's never been like this until later in his career, because he wasn't a high draft pick, and because he didn't succeed with the team that drafted him, Alex Anzalone has never really had a big payday. I understand that a 3-year, $18 million contract looks like a huge payday for normal folk like all of us in the room, but for a really good every down linebacker, $6 million a year is a bargain, and he knows it. And you know how I know he knows it? Look at his social media account right now. His last tweet on the 10th of May, 2025, it shows him just working out. Respect is due. And then there's a couple of other tweets that really went unnoticed towards the end of last season. And this is him, quote, reposting Justin Rogers. This is from New Year's Day, 2025. The impact of Anzalone's absence was unintentionally hammered home in today's film review. It's 2,500 words, so plan for a longer bathroom break if you're forced to work today. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Alex Anzalone was like, hell yeah, they're suffering without me. Alex Anzalone also on New Year's Day. Lions defense, and this is from Justin Rogers. This is Alex Anzalone reposting it. You guys can go to his Twitter page if you want, because it's been very interesting lately. Lions defense started a steady decline after Anzalone went out. Additional blows haven't helped, but getting back their captain should provide an unquestionable boost. And I'll tell you what, that went way under the radar, because I'll say this. If Aiden Hutchinson, after the Commander game, reposted something that was like, haha, you see, they couldn't get any pressure on Jaden Daniels without me, we would be raking him over the coals. And I'm not saying that Alex Anzalone is a bad guy or that he's not a Dan Campbell guy or that he's selfish. My point in that is nobody is acutely as aware how underpaid he is like Alex Anzalone is, because he knows that, judging by his production during the length of this contract, that he's earned like maybe a $12 to $15 million a year AAV contract. But when it comes to the Lions, when it comes to a team that is in the Super Bowl window, when you factor in the fact that he's 30, he's going to be 31 this next season, it's more complicated than that. They already signed Barnes. I think that they'll eventually end up signing Malcolm Rodriguez because of the fact that his second season he was a special team player, and in his third season he got hurt. I think he's another one that the Lions could reasonably get on an incredible bargain. Jack Campbell's the number one or the first round draft pick. I think the Lions were content with letting Alex Anzalone play this last year and then see where they go from there. But I don't know. Anzo definitely is feeling a certain way. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and I see some people in the chat. The Real K77 says, Anzo was on the field making plays with a broken forearm. Brad needs to pay the man this money. I'm seeing a lot of the people with support for Anzo in the chat. A lot of people say, you know what, I wasn't even an Anzo fan in the beginning, but he grew on me. He was playing out of position and such. And, you know, to be able to see that type of support from the fans, it's a little different, especially when we're talking about what Riley Greene, Hutch, and Kay Cunningham have had to deal with. There's a lot of people who understand what Anzo means to this squad. For me personally, though, Brad Holmes' job is to make sure that this team's Super Bowl window and its flexibility to make that happen can remain open at all points and all times. But I do wonder how much of, whatever the conjecture may be, is Alex Anzalone realizing, hey, you say you take care of your dogs. There ain't no more dog than me. I was here from the beginning. I was here when people didn't believe in what you guys were even trying to do. And so I do wonder how much of that is, goes into effect. And then you talk about everything that he did as it relates to his effect on the field. It was noticeable. He didn't have to retweet that. Justin Rogers didn't have to post it. For everyone in Detroit, no matter what level of proficiency you have at watching the game, to know that Alex Anzalone was sorely missed. And as soon as he got back, it was as if you could hear the people talking about how good a player he was, how smart he was, and he's making plays. It was almost reminiscent of Dan Campbell's sideline saying we need some turnovers, and Carlton Davis goes out there and gives you two. But what else is also reminiscent is Carlton Davis's comments early on. He wants to be here, but then we started hearing comments similar to what we see Alex Anzalone putting out there. And then we all said, absolutely not. There's no way. He's a player. He's a dog. Look what he did. He's worth the money. He earned it, blah, 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 blah. But we understand how that went. Even with Big Z, we said absolutely not. And I know that because these are guys that kind of fit the mold. Guys that they didn't draft here. Guys that they signed, played a role. And even though Alex Anzalone has been here the longest and a part of that DNA, I do wonder with the shift from KG, with the shift to Kelvin Shepard as defensive coordinator, we know he loves Malcolm Rodriguez. I wonder how much of these things play into it. And I do believe this. The Brad Holmes of it all, I think it's just smart business to play it out. But if you're Anzo, it's probably a little less smart, especially after you just dealt with an injury last season.
And that's what's so crazy is that I think all of us at some point, and if I'm wrong, tell me, we look at the future of the Detroit Lions. We look at Anzalone being a little bit older. We look at how this year is his contract year. I think, and I'll just speak for myself, and I've heard the heavyweights even mention it as well. I've had plenty of times where I've looked at the future of who they're going to pay, who they're going to let walk, and almost glossed over, oh yeah, Anzo's probably not going to be here long term. But what I'm also starting to realize, and what we all should realize, is that Alex Anzalone is a human being. He's not just some chess piece. And I understand it's not our job to worry too much about his feelings. It's to explain that Alex Anzalone is hearing this as well. Alex Anzalone is saying, hold up 1 second. We would not be here right now if it wasn't for me. I have played under a contract in which I was very underpaid and played damn well. I deserve an extension. I don't need to be making, $6 million this year with an uncertain future. And you never know. If Anzo gets hurt again, like if he let's just say this, if Anzo goes out this year under this contract, balls out, somebody would probably overpay for him, and I don't think it would be the Lions. However, if he goes out this year and suffers another injury and shows even a little bit of decline, which he's 31, he's not 37, I'd probably doubt the decline, but if he gets another injury, maybe he feels like that could really stunt his earning potential. It's a tough situation
to deal with because the Detroit Lions went, and instead of making Lee McNeil play out the season, they did what? They gave him the money. And we understand it's a little bit different situation because there's a lot more potential in years that can be played there, hopefully at a high level for Lee McNeil than and Anzo was a little bit older. But part of me wonders if that's in the back of their minds. They have to take all things into consideration when you're signing a player like Alex Anzalone, when you're actually in prime position to go and make some really good investments in your linebackers. What have I said the last 2 seasons? And since Jack Campbell, they've just really glossed over the linebackers and said, we got what we need. Now you're coming up on 2-3 years of kind of glossing over that. The next offseason is going to be a third offseason. I believe that they're going to do something impactful there, whether it be through the draft, free agency, or you're going to have to decide to lock up Anzo. But what we do know is it seems as if Brad Holmes has made next offseason strategically. That's the year where they're going to have to make some type of decision. And that's where I get it. Like, he's not a chess piece. He has emotion. Yeah. He's earned a lot. But if you're sitting in Brad Holmes' seat right now, you've given yourself literally every avenue. We haven't seen a GM operate like this. Not even you're talking about all the constraints that you have in a capped league. We haven't seen a GM in Detroit sports operate like this. Obviously, we hope that it all culminates in a championship so we can say this has been the most masterful GM job in Detroit sports history. But just looking at even the Anzo thing, how he handles Darius Smith, which even if we disagree with it, I still see how much flexibility he gives himself to even play at this trade deadline. So I don't know, man. This is a weird one because you need Alex Anzalone in the best of spirits, going 100%, every single play because this is what we know him to be. And me personally, I think the Lions know that he's going to be that whether he has the deal or not. Anzo doesn't strike me as a guy to protest too much in terms of his play. I would assume he would just not step on the field if he was going to play any less than 150% because that's who we know Anzo to be.
Yeah, and if you want some context to where, because this isn't meant to attack Alex Anzalone. I want to give he is right now, according to Spotrac, the 27th highest paid inside linebacker in the NFL,
27th?
according to AAV. So I get how he's feeling. It's just
27th?
The business of the NFL is it's weird when you don't really have your breakout until you are set for a potential big payday when you're past the age of 30, also coming off of an injury. So if I were the Lions and if I were Alex Anzalone, hopefully he will accept playing out the end of his contract. But who knows? If I'm looking at what I think Alex Anzalone could get, if you told me right now that he got an extension for 3 years, $30 million, I would take that any day of the week. Would he take that? Has he earned more than that? Yes, he has. But we're projecting as well, and they already paid Barnes, and they've re-signed so many other players. 3 at 30, and I'm feeling really, really good. Anything up to 3 at 36, and I'll probably be like, okay.
Do we know the situation? What's Malcolm Rodriguez's situation?
I mean, Malcolm, this is his contract year as well. Yeah. It's just with him, I think
he's gonna be back.
There's enough doubt to where you can lowball him a little bit.
I think he's gonna be back on a good deal.
Once the linebacking core got better, his second year, he was relegated to special teams duty for the most part. And in his third season, he went out with a torn ACL. He probably won't be back at the beginning of the year. So I actually think that moving forward, a great bargain and a great steal on a Malcolm Rodriguez contract is very possible. He played the best ball of his career last year until he got hurt.
People think you lowballing Anzo.
Think I'm lowballing Anzo?
They said, nah, he need more like 3 for 38 to 40. That's Weezy D. Randall Small, Sam, more like 2 for 30.
See, here's and here's
Ryan, don't lowball that man.
All right, and here's where I will give a bit of a counter. And the flagships, shout out to them. And this is where I disagree with something that they posted. It was posted by Will Birchfield, the Birchie kid. He compared what Alex Anzalone has done in the past few years to the Chiefs' Nick Bolton. And Nick Bolton signed 3 years for a $45 million, a $15 million a year average.
He's not as good as Nick Bolton. That's straight up. I'm sorry.
Agree.
I'm going to be the not slappy in the room.
Go ahead.
If he asks for something near Nick Bolton's contract, I'm not paying it. Linebacker is one of the most expendable positions in the NFL, straight up. It also is one of the least specialized and cared about positions when it comes to the draft. There are always rookie linebackers that are out there that are of high first round grade and they end up dropping to the low first rounds and the high second rounds. Like, there's always a good opportunity to pick linebackers, and they're always able to come in, not always, but for a very high percentage of linebackers, because it's such a position where it relies on instincts and physical ability. They can come in here at such a higher rate and be effective. And so I think that you can draft, like, if you were to let Anzo walk, you could spend a high draft pick on a linebacker and he could come in there and fill that role. Or you can also look to the free agency market and you can look to pair a more budget linebacker with him, or an aging linebacker. I mean, what did Quan Alexander get in not Quan Alexander, who went to the Greenlaw to the Broncos? What
Greenlaw
did he get
got
10.5
million per year.
Yeah, I'd rather pay him 10.5 than play Anzalone, straight up. Even coming off a torn ACL, that guy has proven that he has been a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. Greenlaw was a beast for San Francisco, and I personally, like, I'm not in the business of paying Alex Anzalone like a top 5, top 10 linebacker in the NFL.
And that's and Justin, I'm so glad you said that, because I don't have to be the bad guy this time. Alex Anzalone is not as good as Nick Bolton. I can say that Alex Anzalone is fantastic. I can say that I would be okay with the Lions re-signing him on a reasonable deal. But Nick Bolton, he's younger, he's been better, and I get it, a lot of that has to do with what's around him. But the Kansas City Chiefs, they can afford to do things like this. And I'm not talking about when it comes to cap. The only thing that they should concern themselves with is, are they just going to be a normal dynasty, or are they going to turn into the greatest dynasty in NFL history? If the Nick Bolton trade in retrospect looks like it wasn't a good one, fine. He played a big role in helping the Chiefs win 2 Super Bowls. Like I said, it wasn't all him, but he was one of their better defensive players. The Lions aren't there quite yet. They can't risk doing anything reckless that would hurt the team moving forward. And I do think 3 at 45 for Alex Anzalone is a little bit reckless. I'm not saying 3 years is reckless, but 3 at 45 is, he shouldn't get Nick Bolton money.
But Steve Lehman is right. When Anzo isn't on the field, this team suffers greatly. So he might not be as talented or skilled as some of these other players, but his effect on the Lions is something that, you know, we in Detroit sports, we've realized there's been those players who their stats might not jump out at a certain way, but we understand their overall and their complete effectiveness. And that's what Alex Anzalone does have going for him as it relates to the Detroit Lions, because they're going to have to figure out, can we replicate this? As much belief as they have in some of their other linebackers they have on this squad, this team looked completely different without Alex Anzalone, no matter how he looks compared to Bolton, or even the potential of a Greenlaw coming off of an ACL injury, so you can get a little bit of a discount. I think that's one of the more intricate things here when you talk about Anzo is, can you replace who he was in the locker room, or can you replace what he was on the field? You know, can you replace who he is as a leader, his IQ? And that because there was a lot of complaints about him, and then you see him not in there, and you realize, whoa, there's a lot that's missing. And so for the Tigers, if you're going to walk away from it, and you do trust the Brad Holmes in this instance, you believe he can go out there and find that player, whether it be another signing, on the fly, because he discovered Alex Anzalone and believed in him before any of us. So again, I still give that tip of the cap to Brad Holmes to figure this out, though I do feel for Alex Anzalone, who's played well above his contract.
100%. And if we're just talking another factor to it as well, and I hope you don't think I'm hating on Alex Anzalone. I'm trying to be realistic. Whether you earn your contract or not, a lot of times is immaterial to how, let's just go, Brad Holmes feels like a player will project. I'll just say it, and I've continued to be consistent on this. Derek Barnes did not earn the contract that he got, in my opinion. What the Lions are doing is projecting that he's young, he was showing a lot before he went down to injury, and that this contract will end up being a bargain. So whether or not Anzalone earned it or not might end up being immaterial. It's an unfair game. It's just the reality of the situation. Like I said, if I were GM Flannel Sam, which obviously I'm not, I'm sure I'll hear it in the chat like 10 consecutive times, I would say, Anzo, play it out or accept 3 at 30. Yeah, that would be my hard line.
And another factor that goes into my decision on why I don't want to pay Anzo $10.5 million is because I also expect another step from Jack Campbell this season. Sure. Jack Campbell's still young, and he eventually is going to take over that role of that number one linebacker. And so where I want this to get to is a point where Anzo is expendable. Like, I know Anzalone has played great with us, but his biggest a contributing factor that he gives to the Detroit Lions is the fact that he can stop those outside runs, and he has that lateral quickness to get sideline to sideline. But you can just draft another guy who that's his specialty, to get sideline to sideline and support Jack Campbell at where he is his weaknesses, which is in the outside runs, in pass coverage, and you put him with someone who complements him and is good at sideline to sideline defense and covering the pass. And when you do something like that, and you can just make Alex Anzalone so expendable where you don't have to pay him $10.5 million, and he has to tie up our cap space, because we do have so many other players that we have to make contract decisions on in the next 2 years. We have Hutch, we have J-Mo, we have Brian Branch. Like, the list goes on, and I'm sorry, Alex Anzalone is not as good as any of those players. I would rather pay Branch more money and let Anzalone go. It's just how it is.
I would too.
I don't know if he's expendable, but the Lions are going to find themselves in a position to where they can't bring back somebody, and that to me is where, when I look at Anzo, I continue to zero in on this. I love stats, metrics, and things of that nature, but I'm also somebody who loves the effect that a player can have on a team. And that, to me, is what I don't think can be undersold. You don't just replace who Anzo was because you get somebody who might be fast. We've seen the Lions go out there and try and make specific picks and things like that, and some of it doesn't work out, especially with the linebackers and some of the players on the defensive line. That, to me, is where, I do believe you can get players who can play the position, but are they as smart as Alex Anzalone? Are they striking fear in the opponents who are crying about him? Like, to see other players go on a podcast and cry, that, to me, I didn't hear a lot of these other guys getting complained about. I didn't hear a lot of other, people crying about Bolton or even crying about Greenlaw. I didn't hear that. But I do know that in our division, our opponents were crying about the fact that Alex Anzalone brought the hammer, and they just couldn't keep up. That, to me, is the type of stuff that's like, when you peel back those layers, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him. And I am okay with them saying, okay, we got to take a next step up. But they have to make sure from an IQ standpoint that they can at least have some of that shored up if you move on. Because I do believe you can get a player who has better measurables and combine type numbers. But that aspect of it that Brad says, when I put on a tape, this is a football player, whether other people realize it or not, that's what they did to even identify Alex Anzalone in the first place. And so that's why I'm just hoping, like, if they do go down the path like what Justin is saying, which I'm okay with, I'm just hoping that they can find a way to replace all of the other intangibles that he brought to the game that honestly boosted Alex Anzalone beyond a lot of his limitations from a skill standpoint.
Well, and for the record, his numbers are really good too. Like, it's not like you can make a numbers argument that he's worthy of a huge contract. I also think another angle to this is that the way I see it, they already paid Barnes. I think they're going to get Rodrigo extended on a bargain.
That just feels like the inevitable.
Then you have to factor in who gets the extension. Is it going to be Campbell or Anzalone? I don't think they're both going to get it.
Out.
Maybe. But Anzo, take a little bit of a hometown discount. And again, hometown discounts are, I'm not saying he will. I'm not trying to be like pipe dream Flannel. I don't think it's as simple as he's been the heart of the team. He's been good. Let's give him an exorbitant amount of money. I think when it came to guys like Panay and Amon-Ra, who didn't even get an exorbitant amount of money for what they've produced, it's more about they're young. You look at Amon-Ra, you look at Panay, multiple All-Pros, only going to get better, only approaching their prime. And with Alex Anzalone, you just never know. And when Jack Campbell comes up for contracts, I do think that he might ask for $18 million a year or something with the cap continuing.
It's not a hometown discount. What I'm realizing is this. You gave Amon-Ra and those guys these 4-year deals.
Yeah.
Jack Campbell, when he gets his deal, who's going to be up for deals right after that? Amon-Ra and Panay and those guys. So when you're looking at Anzo, if there's not a hometown deal in place, even before you get to the scenarios that Justin is talking about, I believe right now you can, stuff everything in the duffel bag and keep it moving to keep the players right now. But when you're talking about when you get to the Jack Campbells and then on to the third contracts, potentially of your Panays and your Amon-Ras and such, and you still got to cash it on Hutch, that's where it's just like, whoa, they got a lot that they're going to have to figure out money-wise. And this is where, again, shout out to Brad Holmes for keeping every single lane wide open. So if it's your lane of, hey, we're going to lowball you a little bit here, Anzo, for the hometown discount, but I hope you understand business is business. We got to keep the window open. Or whether it's Justin's, window that says, there might be some better plays here. There might be some better options here. Or the option I think, find a way to get this man somewhat what you want. Maybe it's not as big a discount, but allow him for 2 years. If you put the third year on there, give yourselves all the protection as an organization, and go out there and realistically know that the contract is for what he's supposed to do this year and a little bit of what he might have done to help you get here as an organization.
And there's another contract that was given about in the chat. I don't think he would accept this, but if he accepted 2 at 24, I would be okay with that. It'd give him next year. It'd give him 2 years after that. That would be his age 31, 32, and 33 season. I don't necessarily hate that because it has no term. I think 12 a year is a little bit steep, but that would make me fine. And one other thing that I want to read in the chat, and I'm not trying to be like a dick or anything, but Rando Smalls, how can you say that Alex Anzalone has been way more impactful than Nick Bolton? Again, whenever I say anything people don't like, all you talk about is the stats.
That's just not true.
But that's the thing. All I hear about people trying to victory lap over me is that Patrick Mahomes hasn't even been that good these last couple of years. That the defense played a big part in the Chiefs getting where they went to. And to be fair, Mahomes' numbers did take a dip in the regular season in 2023 and 2024 and even the playoffs in 2024. Who do you think was one of the driving forces then in them winning in 2023 and getting there in 2024 and having great regular seasons? It was Nick Bolton on defense. Nick Bolton in the Super Bowl following the 2022 season, he had a fumble return for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And I get it. The fact that he's won something and Anzo hasn't, a lot of it is due to circumstances. I'm not obtuse to that. I'm just saying that Nick Bolton is a proven, super impactful linebacker on Super Bowl teams, including teams where Mahomes hasn't quite been the Mahomes that we're used to. So you can't say that. That's a slappy take. No disrespect, but that is 100% a slappy take. And that's not disrespectful to Anzalone. It's Nick freaking Bolton on the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't let people forget what this team has accomplished in the last 6 years. All of us Lions fans would give up one of their children for that kind of a success. Don't minimize, don't forget.
I do, though, wonder how different it is when you have a defense that is a little bit more built up. I know who Alex Anzalone has been here, and for large parts, there's been years where you could say he's probably your best player on defense. That's from the beginning of this thing.
One of them,
from the beginning of this thing, and then you look at the impact he had last year. You're not going to call him your best player last year because we're going to definitely look at those safeties, and we look at least the little blip that Aiden Hutchinson got off to, and we understood he was going to be clearly that. But that's where I just say we know this. We were on one hand when we win these ways champion this stuff. And that's what's so weird about Alex Anzalone. He is exactly the player that we generally would champion because we see what everybody else doesn't see beyond the stats. And that, to me, is where I agree with you guys as it relates to the Bolton of it all. But, I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one because I saw somebody else in the chat talk about the fact that here we go. Yeah, here it is right here. Burn, $5 super chat. Go look at the expiring contracts in 2025. There are a lot of guys we all love who need to get paid or let walk. Anzo, Amik, Reader, Bates, Skip.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up because next year we're actually $26 million over the cap for next year going into next year where Anzalone will need this deal. And then in 2027, you really are seeing the contracts start to end, and you're really going to start having to make these types of decisions. You have Ragnow ending in 2027, J-Mo ending in 2027, Sam Laporta ending in 2027. You have Hutchinson ending in 2027, and you have Brian Branch ending in 2027. All 5 of those guys are going to become as free agents in 2027, and you're
Campbell
going to
in
need
2026, right?
Yep, Campbell in 2026 and Gibbs in 2028. So you're gonna have right there. There's just so many guys who you're gonna have to pay. I love Alex Anzalone, but I feel like he's going to be the one that is the odd man out because he's not an all-pro. He's not that elite level player that we have, and that's where you have to Super Bowl level teams. Like if you look at the Patriots dynasty and the Chiefs dynasty, they would bring in guys in free agency and the draft that were undervalued that would be able to play that Alex Anzalone role the way that Alex Anzalone did, but for a cheaper price and for a bargain rate.
That's where some people, I see him in the chat, and it's continued to percolate, and I saw Mark even say this as well. Shout out to Mark again. He said this is where he wished they would have given the money to Anzo rather than to Davenport, than to Barnes.
I mean, I don't hate that take at all. I've been more skeptical than some on giving Derek Barnes that kind of money, but I think that they project him to be really come into himself, piggyback off of what he did in 2023 and in his short stint in 2024, and to be a good value moving forward. I can't necessarily fault them for that, but I can't kill you for that. Yeah. And Weezy D313, I just wanted to read this too. Buy a Meek, buy Reader. Probably. It's what good organizations do. Sometimes people that help you win, you just have to make decisions.
Weezy D. Brad, sign Hutch now before he has 16 sacks.
Fair.
Totally fair. Especially now, when you listen to all the contracts, I'm glad you found that, Justin. That might be another social post too. Because Brad Holmes has a whole lot of work on his hands. The least of his worries is going to be how he hurdles the draft, but he has to do that one right because we see how many players now are going to be up for contracts. A lot of them. The guys that he's signed here and a lot of the guys that he's drafted here. And now, after the season, we're sitting here realizing the next offseason, Jack Campbell, and the offseason after that, all the dogs that you just broke records with their contracts. All of these guys reset the market from Penei Sewell to Amon-Ra. And then we know that they gave Jared Goff a lot of money that jumped him up into the top 5 in quarterback money. So, Stick is up here.
Stick is in the building.
So, I see Jason Kenyon, $5 super chat as well. Reconstructed the final year of that contract for Anzo. Make the $6 million guaranteed, add $1 million plus another $500,000 in incentives. Worry about extending. I guess he's one that's
love to worry about extending later.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you do? No matter how much I may like Alex Anzalone, and I can see the intrinsics, this feels like Justin said, you said, it just feels like unless there's a significant hometown discount, and based on the way Brad Holmes has already signed certain players, even at the same position, it feels like he might be the odd man out.
He might, and I know how important he is. I know how valuable he is, but this is part of being a good team. Not everybody can come with you to the next step. But the good news is Alex Anzalone still is under contract for 1 more year, and I wouldn't put it past him to be a driving force on their defense to them winning a Super Bowl. Then after that, the Lions can do whatever the hell they want with their cap, because I will be still celebrating for probably the next many, many years, as we all will. But no, Alex Anzalone's great. It's just that a salary cap league is it's a tough one to navigate. You can't get too attached to people, and we've all fallen victim to it at times, but it just is what it is.
Have we? And we love you, Donnie Kelly, baby.
We do not.
Shout out to him.
Control your emotions,
Showing
DK.
some fire out there as a manager.
Control your emotions.
We would love that if it was JB Bickerstaff. Where we gotta go? Loom? Let's say we'll go to Loom and Caesars.
That is you, sir.
Let me tell you about Loom. And I was on the golf course with my man Jay, and we were drinking these Buzzins all day. They are the best cannabis drink in the cannabis game. Spring is in the air and Michigan is buzzing. They are 7.5 milligrams of real THC wrapped in bubbles, crafted with real fruit juice and no artificial sweeteners. My personal favorite are the raspberry lemonade and the peach. They both are super, super good. And they have no hangovers and they're low calories, so it's all bubbles and no troubles. Catch it in watermelon, cherry, strawberry, or try one of their 2 brand new flavors, the raspberry and the peach, like I just said. Crack a can, take a sip, catch a buzz. Available at any of Loom's 38 locations across Michigan. Use code WSEN30 for 30% off your entire order, and you can order that online as well, and it will be ready for pickup as soon as you get in store. So go to www.com or www.loom.com today. Yeah, they all got changed. They all got like screwed up. They were all to size and stuff, and then I came in here today and they were all. Yeah, I know. I've been resizing them. Like this one's on 1080. It's just small as shit.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. Gives away more cash and prizes than Woodward Sports.
That's way too big, yeah.
Here's our latest $10,000 winner.
You know, you guys posted, hey, if you guess all this stuff right, you know, we'll give it's $10,000. I'm like, okay, well, why the hell not?
And the winning doesn't stop there. How about our Outkick Your Coverage winner? Bigger prizes, bigger giveaways, cash, merch, tickets, and more. All from the biggest.
Oh, was he at post too?
Yeah, he asked me last week if I'd cover for him this morning.
Yeah, he told me like a week ago. He was like, hey, now you take one, bro.
JB's, at least to me, he's Teflon. He can take a day off, and I'm gonna just be like,
we'll find a way.
And I'm sure you feel the same way about him. Yeah, JB's the man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. They're all 1080 by 1080, but they're all too big.
Same circus, different clowns.
For sure. You want the usual, the big zip?
I'll look at it because I just realized that we were.
I threw a little something extra in there for your mom.
Oh,
Hope
man.
she's doing all right.
Ay, guy, sei un santo. You're a saint.
All right, buddy. We'll see you
It
next
sucks
time.
that
Okay?
the
Grazie.
TV screens haven't been working since Thursday. So
Any
you
Lady
can't see
Jane's
it.
Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage,
All right,
hot
we're
leather
gonna come
neck
back
shave,
in
and
20
I only know
to
what
the
I'm
massage
talking
chair.
from one of our talented
Will
stylists.
you show me
Step
that?
up your
I
game
love
this
our
season
talented
and take advantage
Like, I
of our
love them so
$20
much.
haircut
Massage
special.
They're great
is
people.
using
I
the
love the
QR
chat.
code.
Oh,
Get
is
your
it a
coupon
massage
today.
chair?
Lady
Yeah, we're gonna
Jane's
come back to
Haircuts
the
for Men,
massage chair
the ultimate
in
haircut
10
experience.
seconds.
I mean,
Open
sticks is
7 days a
awesome.
week.
Chat, man.
Walk-ins always
only they
welcome.
could hear
Lady
what
I
Jane's
said.
Haircuts
That's
for
fine.
Men.
4,
It's wicked
3,
awesome.
2, 1.
Hi, well, this is Justin. Well, as you can see right behind
you
me,
really?
Stick is getting lounged up right now, where you should be looking to upgrade your relaxation game. Check out the Massage Chair House in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Shout out.
Yo,
that's my
Justin,
hometown.
bro, like, I felt bad because he was in the chair. I tried to say hi to him. My man was knocked out. He looked at me like, "What the f, Kool-Aid?"
He's getting a massage, so we're gonna let him enjoy that.
Get the hangover massage.
With the top brands for massage chairs like the Infinity or the Asaki on top of the Pharaoh, which you can see Stick is in right now. Located near the corner of Woodward and Long Lake Road, experience luxury comfort with Dr. Eric Duncan, the Wellness Doc, the creator of the top YouTube massage chair review channel. Book a visit today at www.massagechair.com or scan the QR code Massage Chair House. Your ticket to ultimate recovery and relaxation. Like, look at Stick right there. He is relaxed and he's ready to go. Come on.
And you can pay for that massage chair after you've just won big at Caesars Sportsbook. If you,
Hey, elite
if I told you you could
transition.
place up to a bet of up to $1,000, and if you lose, you could win it right back. You'd think I'm crazy, but if you scan the QR code right above my head and enter the code Woodward1000. If your first bet doesn't hit, get your deposit back up to $1,000. That's right, $1,000 back in your pocket, giving it a shot. Minimum bet of just $20. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app today. The official sportsbook of Woodward Sports. Use that promo code Woodward100 to win your $1,000 today.
Hey, and we are back. It is Wake Up Woodward. And again, shout out to our brothers, KG, JB Smooth. Shout out to him, man, because that guy, he rarely takes a day. Rarely, even when he needs one. We're like, go home. He's like, nah, I'll be there. But shout out to him, man. Always the MVP of Woodward Sports. Absolutely. And the MVP of the TD booth, man. So shout out to JB Smooth. But we're back, and it's time to TLB some more because shout out to the social team. I love our social team. We put out a graphic, and we've been putting out many, and I'm glad that you shouted that out. The top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 wide receivers, and top 10 skill positions and all that type. And we put out the top 10 QBs, and you took maybe a little bit of umbrage with it, or at least you want to see.
It's a discussion to be had. Whether I took umbrage or not is you're going to find out in a second, and hopefully this segment doesn't ruin Stick's relaxation because he has entered the building. But all right, so before we do that, let's read this last super chat from Burn, and then Chase, I'll have you put up the graphic. A lot of you have probably seen it if you follow our social media. Burn, $5. You'll never take away the memory of Don Kelly being pinch hit for a sacrifice fly walk-off against the A's in the ALDS.
Shout out Don Kelly.
Don Kelly, baby!
He's in our Role Player Hall of Fame here in Detroit.
He had moments, but he's a... You know, I'm not going to do this because we have to get to the... Let's do more TLB.
I'm not a Don Kelly fan.
Thank you.
I don't like Don Kelly.
Let me just ask you this.
I just think the meme is funny. I mean,
you can't stop Donnie Kelly, baby.
Who's a more beloved Tiger figure, Don Kelly or Justin Verlander?
Verlander.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Who's a more beloved Tiger figure, Don Kelly or Prince Fielder?
Prince Fielder.
Debatable.
It's
I love
100%
Prince Fielder.
Don Kelly.
I love Prince Fielder. No,
I love Prince
that's
Fielder
someone
too.
I would.
Wait. I need a mic, Justin.
Hey, and
It doesn't work.
This is hilarious. I love Stick, dog.
That's my point, is that he just gets too much love. He should be treated appropriately as a very fine role player, not like a folk hero of Detroit sports.
Exactly what the fuck he said. That's what Kool-Aid said.
All right.
He's a great role player. And the reason, I love Prince Fielder, but the reason I like Don Kelly better than Prince Fielder is the way Prince Fielder left.
I understand.
That dude was dogging it. Like, you never saw Don Kelly take a play off. You saw Prince Fielder jogging,
doing like bad
belly
eras.
Flopping, fighting
third.
teammates. Like, it was. Come on, man.
I get it.
Come on, man. Prince Fielder, much better baseball player.
Okay.
Don Kelly, better teammate.
I get it, but people sleep on. Prince Fielder was really good when he was here.
He was fantastic.
If you want to say he struggled in the playoffs, that's fair.
But he was a head case. That was the problem.
But they won.
He was such a beauty.
They
won because of Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez.
Sure, but Prince Fielder was part of it. He was
Placido Polanco. God damn that team.
Wrong team. That was Ian Kinsler's team.
Yeah.
Ian Kinsler was on that team? No. Didn't they trade Prince for Kinsler?
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, so shut the fuck up, man.
Well, I will say Polanco was not on the team at that point. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah,
he was off
because
the team
if
at
anyone
that point.
knows, it's the Polanco slappy.
Ale has a question.
I don't know. He didn't know how we acquired Kinsler, so I don't know.
He's
literally the guy we traded for him. He thought was on the same team.
The reason I say this because Justin's favorite baseball player ever is Placido Polanco.
He's good.
Ale says Don Kelly or Brandon Inge.
Inge.
Oh, Don Kelly.
Inge.
Inge is an
Look,
ass.
the ladies love Brandon Inge.
Do the ladies love Brendan Inge?
I don't know. I think he's hated in this town.
The ladies loved him.
I don't think he's hated, but when I was hosting V Nightclub inside the MGM Grand, he popped through a couple times, and he was the way he tried to get attention. I thought was dude,
okay,
it's a little. Dude, you don't need to be hanging over the rail with a bottle trying to pull girls in your booth. That's when you lose respect for your people.
I've been forgetting about his perspective, man.
Yeah, the stick perspective, and that's important. That's much.
And at
needed.
the same time, Justin Verlander's there, and I walk up to him and I ask him, "Hey, you want me to make an announcement that you're here? You know, I want to show you some love." He's like, "No, I'm just here to relax."
Shout out to JV.
So that, and that's the difference between a Brandon Inge, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Justin Verlander's just like a much better player. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Class act, though. Like, he
Sure.
wasn't there for the attention. Like Ziggy Ansah when he was there. Nice guy.
And he was really good, too. He was another one really good.
Went
50,
from like no
top 50
football
player
to
for
just
a
a
year.
good football player.
Yeah.
He was damn good.
BYU's finest.
BYU's finest, that's for sure. But
The better question, Flannel, is who is more memeable, Don Kelly or Brendan Inge? See, that's the better question. Like 0 home runs in the home run derby or getting thrown out 2 times in your first weekend as manager. I mean, that's the type of stuff we're talking about here.
that's
And
pretty,
according to the
pretty
chat, we
memeable.
already know that Don Kelly has more aura than Riley Greene, they say.
Well, aura's not a thing.
He
Aura's
said it's
not a
not
thing.
a real
No, but
Tell that to the hippies.
Let's get to that top 10, man.
yes.
Hey, the top 10 quarterbacks. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to hear your take, but I also want to see what the chat family believes too, because I'm already seeing some people in the chat talking about running quarterbacks are overrated, and we also know that Jared Goff, for his lack of mobility, was top 5 in MVP voting for the regular season last year.
Yes, but as you're going to see, Chase, if you wouldn't mind
Is he top 5 on this list?
throwing that on up, well, you'll see in just a second.
For the record, there were Jared Goff chants last night at Post Malone. Because he started talking about the Cowboys.
That's fair. That's actually a good transition. That's a good transition into Jared Goff chance. But no, on this Woodward Sports list, Jared Goff is not top 5. He is listed as the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. So they didn't have him out of the top 10, but
shout out Travis.
They also
said we don't muzzle our social team.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But just for those who are audio only, I'm just going to go through this really quick, 1 through 10. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, and then rounding out the top 10, Dak Prescott. I'd probably put Baker over Prescott personally. I don't have like a huge issue with Dak being on the list because 10. But I'd put Baker.
The recent success,
Yeah.
I would put Baker.
Yeah, I you know what? Actually, I am. Baker should be there.
I agree.
Baker should be there.
I would put Baker. As much as I just want to hate on Dak Prescott, I still know that he's a pretty good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
I wouldn't put him in that top 10. Not with what the Cowboys have been the last couple of years. But
no, that's fair. If you'd have told me after the 2023 season that you could argue he's top 10, I would have been okay with that because he actually he put up a season in which he got MVP votes, but he also had probably his worst playoff choke against the Packers.
Man, goodness gracious. 7, and say that list one more time because obviously they got Jaden Daniels and Stafford ahead of them, which those are probably the most questionable ones.
They have Jared Goff as the 4th best quarterback in the NFC. So
how many times does Stafford have to lose to Goff before we acknowledge that Goff's maybe better?
No, I figured that would be your take stick, and that's defensible for the record. 1, Patrick Mahomes. 2,
God, I wish Stafford never got that Super Bowl.
Fair. 2,
that
Lamar
one
Jackson.
Super Bowl changes the narrative so much.
Absolutely,
If he was sitting there with 0 rings right now.
And it'll change the narrative when Jared Goff gets it. Now, win. I'm gonna say win.
I think he's at least a top 7, man. And seeing him is just sandwiched between Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford, it just doesn't feel right considering the success that he's had. If I'm going to elevate Baker Mayfield because he's helped his team get to winning, I got to do the same for Jared Goff too. I know that the playoffs didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but in 2 back-to-back regular seasons, Jared Goff put up some really, really impressive stats. He really helped his team win. We know that there was some impressive end-of-game moments and fourth-quarter moments that he helped his team in second halves even. Times where they went down big, and then Jared Goff went into perfect mode. There was times where, we know his jersey went into the Hall of Fame. 18 for 18. So he's not going out there and throwing 30, 25, 30, passes a game like Stafford can go out there and do. But when you look at how efficient he is and how efficient this offense operated, you didn't really need all of that from Jared Goff. During the regular season, especially, this offense, there were people crying, not about the Rams offense, not about a lot of these other offenses. They were crying about the Detroit Lions offense going out there and putting up points to the tune of people saying that they're unsportsmanlike. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not much to cry about because I think the list is pretty fair. I'd probably have Jared Goff up one more, and then the questionable one for me is Jaden Daniels. Is he going to be able to, what we saw him be special-wise in the playoffs, can he be that for a full season and stave off the sophomore slump?
And this is where, if you were to ask me, and then I know Justin and Chase are licking their chops as well to get in on this. If you were to ask me, I'll just give my quick what I would change. I think you have to keep Mahomes at number 1 just because his resume is by far the best of any quarterback in the NFL.
Even over Josh Allen?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Favorite in every game this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, and even in the last 3 seasons, 2 of them in which his numbers took a dip, still an MVP in 2022, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and in the playoffs the last 3 seasons, 18 touchdowns, 3 picks. The man, even when he struggles, he knows when to turn it on when it matters most, except for that last Super Bowl, of course. I'd put Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson for now, just because Allen, say what you want about how he hasn't won, but his playoff numbers are fantastic.
So your top 3 was Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar?
Yeah.
Mine might be Josh, Patrick, Lamar.
Interesting.
That's
And
crazy.
if you're projecting next year, I don't hate it. To me, the quarterback thing is all encompassing. What you've done recently matters as well. Lamar Jackson, the difference between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in the playoffs is that Allen actually puts up big numbers. Lamar Jackson, except for last year, he's one of the worst playoff droppers in NFL history. Although on the other hand, you can also say that he's maybe the best regular season quarterback in the NFL and the best running quarterback we've ever seen. Lamar Jackson deserves his respect. I have him below Allen because Lamar Jackson has consistently struggled in the playoffs.
I agree with
I'd
that.
have Burrow at 4 over Hurts. I'd have Hurts at 5. I'd have Daniels at 6. I think that's correct. Stafford and Goff is an interesting one. I think they're about as close can be. In my NFC rankings, I put Goff over Stafford, because Goff has had more to do with, he's had 3 consecutive phenomenal regular seasons, including 2 of them to really help get the Lions to heights they've never been. And in 2023, the playoffs following the 2023 season, he was great. Mm-hmm. I give him no responsibility or flack for the loss against San Francisco. The thing that hurts Jared Goff, honestly, is he was terrible in the last playoff game. And that matters. And Matthew Stafford, during his time with the Rams, has a 109 passer rating in the playoffs. That's a pace to have the best ever, just doing it with the Rams. And, of course, he helped lead them to a Super Bowl. So, to me, I disagree slightly. I'd probably put Goff over Stafford, but I'm not mad at it. Yeah. It's defensible either ways. Herbert at 9, I would have had him a lot higher before last year, but he was awful in the playoffs. He pretty much single-handedly cost his team a chance to win that game.
Would you have him at 10 and put Baker at 9? Or do you still believe in the potential of
I'm fine
Justin
with that.
Herbert?
I'm fine with that. Justin Herbert, that's the thing. The numbers he's gotten off to start his career have been historic, and he might be the prettiest looking quarterback to ever live. When he makes those throws, it's just like beautiful to watch, but at the end of the day, his playoff resume is terrible.
And we saw them head to head. Like, a lot of people talk about the stats of a Jared Goff and such. Yeah. Whenever I hear them say, oh, man, they're going to have to get up and down. This is going to be a big offensive game. Can Goff keep up? We see Goff keep up in high-scoring games. And one of those games that sticks out is 2 years ago against the Chargers, where the Lions went out there and they got it. They gave them that work on the ground and through the air. And it was epic to see, because even me, I didn't know if Goff was up for that type of a game. But they went out there and they got it done through the air and on the ground. And that, to me, is what makes Goff a very, very interesting candidate on this list, because a lot of times we go to all of the skills, like the peak skills that we see from some of these players. And would you rather have the arm strength of Stafford or Goff? Probably have the arm strength of Stafford. Of course. But when you see them on the field and you see what Goff is able to do for this Detroit Lions team in this era, it's just like, probably, though, as just a quarterback, I would rather have Goff. Jaden Daniels, though, that's when I say it's questionable to me. Obviously, because they just beat the Lions, and it was primarily because of injuries on defense, but I'm still going to give the edge a little bit more to the turnovers of Goff. Sure. Is where I say it's more questionable for me, but I get it. He's the upstart quarterback. He really helped to pull this Washington Commanders team to some special places last season. And we get it with the running quarterbacks being really the wave of the future, but it's his accuracy, his poise, his inability to really get rattled. I just didn't see him get rattled. And that, to me, is what I believe is going to really underpin his success. And if he shows that up again, then that's why I'm like, yeah, he deserves to realistically be at number 6.
That's why he's on the list. That's why Jared Goff, I mean, you talk about Jaden Daniels. I mean, Jared Goff is on the list in a lot of ways because of what he's done. Actually, entirely because what he's done for this Lions franchise, what he did in the playoffs in 2023. It's disappointing because he really had an opportunity. Even though I don't think they would have won it because they were too hurt, he had an opportunity to really stake his claim and get into the top 5.
They
and
lost
I
45-31, and they gave them 4 extra possessions.
I don't think that's. I think where he's at right now at 8 is a little low, but it's defensible, at least to me. And somebody in the chat, Jerry Miller, Herbert is overrated. What has he won? Nothing. That's why he's 10 instead of like top 5.
Yeah.
I think if you call Justin Herbert the 10th best quarterback in the NFL, that's not him being overrated. That's just the product of his playoff. I mean, last year was egregious. He threw 3 interceptions in the regular season total and then 4 in one playoff game. I truly believe they win that game if he doesn't throw a pick. And you should expect him not to throw a pick because he had played about as clean as anybody the whole season. But that's why Herbert is going to continue to have that reputation
and Mark
until he proves otherwise.
Yeah, that is true. And Mark says Goff also is at the top completion percentage too. And how you feeling about this list? Shout out to our guy Travis, who actually put this list together. And I know some of our others, we all have a couple different positions. And I know, Justin, you have some that you post as well. But this is the way that Travis saw it. He definitely went into the comments on social so people understood who to address any of the dissonance at. But because I know some people thought that this was your list, Flannel, but I just want people to know this is
this is the Woodward
Justin's.
list.
You would actually potentially have Jared Goff up a little higher. So
I'd probably put him at 7 and Stafford at 8. But I think him at 8 and Stafford at 7 is defensible, and I'm not gonna have a cow. But I would probably have it a little bit.
And I can see a push for Lions healthy, Commanders healthy. You do it this year, then I will put firmly Jaden Daniels above. But you want to see what he's going to do, because if you would listen to people about C.J. Stroud going from year 1 to year 2, you would have thought this guy's the next coming, and he just wasn't in year 2. To the point that we spotted you guys a hefty halftime lead, and you couldn't get it done. But that dude, Justin,
I think it's a little different in that case between Stroud and Daniels. I think Stroud didn't get the infrastructure help that he needed in Houston, where I think that Daniels has gotten some roster upgrades in Washington that I really think are going to help him avoid that sophomore slump. I actually have no issue where Jaden Daniels is on this list. I have no issue where Goff is on this list. I think it's a coin flip between him and Stafford. So anytime I see them as 7 or 8, I have no issue there. It's whatever one you feel like on that day.
7A and 7B for you, huh?
Yeah, I think that's
good. Yeah,
I think that's fair. I personally, I'm not a big Dak guy, and I do believe in C.J. Stroud still, regardless of what he showed last year. I think the offensive line was brutal, so I would put him at 10. And I know that's a hot take, but
that's not a hot take.
I genuinely believe that he is just one of the 10 best quarterbacks in this league.
You leaving Herbert on that list with Stroud?
Yes,
too?
I'm leaving Herbert on that list as well.
No Dak, and who else you take off? That's what no
Dak
Baker and no Baker.
Yeah, no Baker.
Okay. And that's fair. I think Baker earned it based off of last year, but I'm so glad that you said that. The typical Lions fan, and I mean this with respect, is practically guaranteeing a Jaden Daniels downfall, and I don't think that happens. I really don't. I think he was better as a rookie than Stroud was, and I think Stroud, even this past year, the offensive line was terrible, and a lot of his receivers got hurt, and they still made the playoffs. Will his numbers take a huge dip? Yes. Did he look a little bit different? Yes, but I just think Jaden Daniels has more to work with, and I think he has more of a foundation.
He's gonna overtake Jalen Hurts as the best quarterback in the NFC, in my opinion, this year. I think that
this year it happens.
Yeah, the way that he can throw that deep ball at an insanely high clip, it's better than any other quarterback in the NFC. I think it even rivals Stafford for the best deep ball in the NFC. He is a pinpoint accuracy passer. He can move it. He can move. He can throw on the run. He can do anything that you need a prototypical quarterback that's mobile to do in this day and age. He is Lamar Jackson, but better, because he has a higher ability to throw. He is a way better pocket passer than Lamar Jackson. I know Lamar Jackson has made those improvements as a pocket passer, but that's also 6-7 years in the league. Jaden Daniels was a rookie sitting in the pocket throwing dimes, and I think that deserves some respect. I really think that Jaden Daniels is going to be on the ascension. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. My last change on this list would be I'd have Allen over Lamar. I'm not the biggest Lamar guy, especially because of the playoff miscues and not the success that he's been known for in the regular season. So I would go Mahomes. He is my inarguable number 1, and he will be, unless someone does they're going to have to go on like a 2 or 3 year insane stretch to even be in the running with Mahomes, in my opinion. And then Allen, and then Lamar. I think that Allen's he's more of a playoff performer. Like Flannel said, he doesn't have that drop, and he just he suffers from being the second best quarterback on the sidelines every single AFC Championship game, and it sucks.
Yeah, like honestly, if you look at numbers, Patrick Mahomes is the best per game playoff quarterback ever. And if you just purely look at numbers, Josh Allen is top 7 to 10. And oftentimes, especially that famous 13-second game, Josh Allen just suffers from not being as good as one guy on that day, not having quite as good of a head coach as one of the GOATs, Andy Reid, not having quite as good of a GM who builds as good of a team as Patrick Mahomes. It's unfortunate. I feel bad for him because I'm a big fan of Josh Allen, but one of these days he'll get it done. Although, man, 4-1 team is just that's beyond brutal. The Buffalo Bills have literally had a 4-year stretch where they lost 4 consecutive Super Bowls, and then when they finally get back to being one of the best teams, they lose in the playoffs 4 times to the same. That's just. Yeah. I feel like I have a kinship with Bills fans. But Chase, I wanted to get your reaction on this list as well. Any changes you would make? Is Goff too high, too low? Have at it.
I mean, I'd probably re-rank it a little bit. I'd give Mahomes the nod still, but I mean, personally, I'd put Joe Burrow as number 2 because I think he's the guy who strikes the most fear in Patrick Mahomes. And I think he's the quarterback that strikes the most fear in Chiefs fans. And I think they're the big dog on the block, at least in the AFC for the last several years. So I'd probably go Mahomes and Burrow, and then you get into the conversation of Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Jared Goff. I'll throw Lamar Jackson in there too, and I feel like you're just kind of grasping at straws, like whatever way you want to rank them. I don't think there's really like a right or wrong way, and there's a reason for you to get like so upset about. I think to me it's Mahomes, Burrow, and then I think it's like Mahomes, just below him is Burrow, and then just below Burrow is a collection of like 4 or 5 quarterbacks who are all really, really good, and I think are good enough to elevate you to that next step to get to win a Super Bowl. So,
I 100% agree. I actually appreciate the way that you did that list because a lot of times we talk about the big arm strength, the mobile quarterback. We know what we love about Jaden Daniels, and I do like him as a quarterback. But that's where I think that a lot of what Jared Goff does well, it gets lost in the trenches because it's so efficient, it's so clean, it's less flashy. It's just a lot of completions at a high percentage. And your offense is just moving up and down the field, and the command over the offense, whether it's a play action, whether it's a timing play, timing routes, finding ways to, hey, I'm throwing an underneath route this time, and then the next route, I'm throwing it down the field. People said I couldn't do that, but I'm tossing it down the field, 64, 67 yards in the air to an 84-yard touchdown. Like, I don't know. Like, there's some things there that I do think when you peel back just the stuff that jumps out at us at some of the top quarterbacks that we usually like to see. Jared Goff, the reason why, and I see Mark, he says Goff has literally finished top 5 in MVP voting, is I think is a lot of those things that you wanted to highlight with your ranking.
Yeah, like I said, he's right there in the mix. Like, I think I've got 2 guys who I think are just the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. But outside of that, like I think 3 through 5 is right there. They're all pretty neck and neck. So.
Yeah, and honestly, Chase, and I've mentioned this before, I've gone through a very interesting journey in how I view Joe Burrow, because I still would take Josh Allen as a playoff quarterback over Joe Burrow, even though Burrow helped the Chiefs break through and Josh Allen has not, because I think that Patrick Mahomes had his one real choke job in a close playoff game in his career in that 2020, following the 21-21 season at home against the Bengals. However, I do think Joe Burrow in those 2 seasons, 2021 and 2022, had a combined 69 touchdown passes and led his team to the Super Bowl and then a 3-point loss at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game. That's pretty damn good. I feel like Burrow has gotten way too overslandered by some people on the chat, by some people on the show, and now I've considered myself somebody who puts their cape out for Joe Burrow. And the reason why I wanted to get to this, I've got a last set of the patented Flannel Sam Twitter graphics, and this one is actually in defense of Joe Burrow. And Chase, if you want to put the one up, if you've got it, of the NFL scoring leaders last season, do you mind just giving me a thumbs up when you got that?
Gotcha.
All right, so last season, and this is the top scoring teams in the NFL. 1 Lions, 2 Bills, 3 Ravens, 4 Buccaneers, 5 Commanders, 6 Bengals, 7 Eagles, 8 Packers, 9 Vikings, 10 Broncos, 11 Chargers. What is the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb? The Bengals at 6 were the only team of the top 11 to not make the playoffs. And I'm sorry. I don't want to hear anything about Joe Burrow's not a winner. Joe Burrow doesn't needs to rise up. This is egregious. This tells me that all of the top 11 scoring teams made the playoffs except for the Cincinnati Bengals. And Chase, I've got a couple of more. How about the players with 40-plus touchdown passes and fewer than 10 interceptions in a season? Do you have that one?
Yeah.
And I know, Chase, you're loving this because you had Burrow at number 2. Tom Brady in 2007, Aaron Rodgers, shout out to him as a regular season dynamo, did it 3 times in 11, 16, and 20. Lamar Jackson also did it last year in 2024, and Joe Burrow did it in 2024. Brady, Rodgers, and Jackson combined winning percentage in those seasons, 77%. Burrow, 53%. The man did everything that he could and then some. He was let down. Oh, wait, there's more. How about the team losses when scoring at least 33 points last season? You got that one, Chase?
Yes, I do. I just got that.
Absolutely. Chiefs, 0. Ravens, 0. Bills, 1. Eagles, 1. Bengals, 4. Commanders, 0. Rams, 0. Lions, 0. Chargers, 0. Cowboys, 0. The reason that I picked those teams in particular was because it goes by the quarterbacks on the top 10 list. So Joe Burrow's Bengals had more losses when scoring 33 points or more than the rest of the top 10 quarterbacks teams combined. Bengals 4, every other team combined 2. Joe Burrow last season was the most hard luck quarterback I've ever seen. He had an MVP caliber season and he was absolutely let down by the Bengals. I'm not going to hear anything else. I don't want to hear about he lacked in anything. He did his job. The organization failed him. And I hear too much other discourse on it, both in the chat and a couple of shows. I'll just say that.
Hey, and you know what, man? Hey, show flew freaking by. Shout out to the chat family as well for supporting us. Let's say what up, though, to a few people, and then we'll call that a show. Because I got to tell you guys about Dr. Pierce. So attention sports fans, don't miss out on expert sports injury insights with Dr. Jeff Pierce of Michigan Sports and Spine. Join Dr. Pierce every Tuesday on Big The Energy and every Thursday on Amani Edwards, where he's offering top-notch injury advice. So trust the guy that DMAC does. For more information, visit MichiganSportsAndSpine.com or call 248-426-9944. I'm going to read the White Claw Tigers read as well, and if you could say what up, though, to Les Stanford after. And
Absolutely.
Mark White. Calling all Tigers fans, join us for the White Claw Tigers Watch Party Tour. You guys want to be a part of this. I am so serious, and we want you to be involved as well. It's an opportunity for us to get together with those that support Woodward Sports and fans of the Tigers and have some fun. We'll be hitting 4 of the top bars in Detroit to watch Tigers games live on the network. So join the Woodward Heavyweights as we hit McShane's Irish Pub, Nemo's Bar, Second Best, and Old Miami. Be part of the fun and see our reactions live on Woodward Sports Network to one of the hottest teams in all of baseball, the hottest team. Join Spencer and Easy on Friday, May 23rd for our first watch party, so it's almost here. At McShane's Irish Pub in Corktown. It's the White Claw Watch Party brought to you by Easttown Distributors and Vin Johnson Law.
Yep, and before I get to my read, shout out to What Up Doe with Detroit. Gunny,
what up, Doe?
Fixed a mistake that I made, and trust me, I'm going to be kicking myself about this the whole day. Lions lost last year to the Bills when scoring 42 points. Yes, you are right. I was wrong. I should have put a 1 next to the Lions' name, and that means that every other top 10 quarterback, according to our Woodward Sports rankings, teams lost 3 times when scoring 33 or more points, and Joe Burrow's Bengals lost 4. It's not 2, it's 3. My bad. Thank you for pointing that out. And in the future, if I ever do make those kind of mistakes, please point that out because, God damn it, when it comes to numbers, I try to be a perfectionist, but even I fail sometimes. So a shout out to you. And
another super chat.
Another super chat. And the Bengals will let him down again because of pissing off Trey Hendrickson and not giving him the money he deserves and or trading him. I agree with that. I could not agree with that more. And that's why I think there's a very, very good chance that the Lions go into Cincinnati next year and win a shootout. Something like 38-31. I'm not quite ready to call an exact score right now because training camp hasn't even happened, but I can see it now. Flannel Stradamus is here and has at least a prediction. But let me tell you about Les Stanford. Les Stanford Buick GMC. They've got all kinds of great deals when it comes to vehicles. Spencer Raxter got himself a car at Les Stanford. I know that Ermani and Edwards just absolutely swears by them. I think that the owner of Les Stanford is actually a I think, the father-in-law of Ryan Armani. So shout out. They're friends of the network. They can be friends of you guys as well because they've got all kinds of fantastic deals, whether you want to buy or lease. Les Stanford has you covered. And, of course, Mark White. Dreaming of a new home but feeling the financial pinch? Mark White & Associates, your trusted real estate experts, are here to help. Mark White and his team will pay up to $5,000 of your closing costs. That's right, I said $5,000. Call Mark White & Associates today at 248-290-8242 or visit them at markwhitesells.com. Again, call Mark White today at 248-290-8242 to make your dreams come true.
Hey, and I think that's a show, man.
Absolutely.
It's a really good show. Shout out to the crew. Shout out to you, chat family, for supporting us. It's been Wake Up Woodward. Definitely miss you, KG. Shout out to our brother Matthew Broder. But we had a really, really good show, really good cast in here, too. Shout out to JB Smooth, our MVP. I know he'll be back with us tomorrow. But we'll get this thing broken down. We'll start over there in the TV booth. Mr. Cavassier Chase, just finding ways to make himself knowledgeable on everything, man. Shout out to you, Chase GPT.
What's going on, everybody? We made it through the show. Sorry for any of the lapses and mistakes, but we're ironing out the wrinkles still. Okay, so we're working it out.
Good job, brother.
And we'll be better next time. So that's look forward to tomorrow. Fast and Loose should be recorded. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We might have a little bit of an all-star guest to match an all-star race that we're going to be recapping this week. And then shout out to Christopher Bell. I already said he won the $1 million check this last night at the North Wilkesboro Raceway. Also want to shout out Tyler Meninga in the Gravedigger, 7-time series champion. He clinched it this weekend, a dominant showing out in Pittsburgh, and he is the 7-time Stadium Series champion, 3-time repeat Stadium Series East champion winner. So shout out to my guy in the Gravedigger truck.
Hey, shout out, man, and continue to keep the content coming. Hey, shout out to that dude Justin holding it down in the sound booth and doing socials, man. What up, though, brother?
Yo, it's been a great day. Loved hanging out, chatting Tigers and Lions with everyone. But if you want to hear some Red Wings, make sure you check out Woodward Wings. It was live on Saturday morning. We have added Spencer to our star-studded roster of me and Flannel Sam. So it is a great episode, lots of great chemistry. We're getting lots of great feedback on it. So if you want to leave a like, a comment, we would appreciate it so much because it is an absolute blast doing it for you guys. So
and it's good content.
Yeah, we're going to keep it coming.
You guys doing your thing. And the other half of Woodward Wings, shout out to Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad and the network, Red Wings correspondent, and Riley Greene lover.
Absolutely. Riley Greene lover, Riley Greene defender. Slipped up one time, but I hope wherever you are, Riley, if you're watching, you can forgive me because I will glaze
Riley,
you.
He was just trying to figure out a way to make himself buy that jersey.
Yes.
Master plan.
No, but hey, shout out to the crew today. Shout out to Justin and Woodward Wings and Spencer. As much as I love doing the shows with just you, man, adding Spencer, it's electric if I do say so myself. According to me, and I'm a little biased,
according to me as well.
Feedback we've gotten and the feedback that you guys got with Spencer when I was gone is almost entirely positive, and we really appreciate that. And shout out to Chase as well. I'll be hopping on the Chase Lounge this week for one of his episodes to talk about my trip in Ireland Wednesday. So if you guys are more curious, hey, according to, so like if you guys are curious, tune into that. And Chase, you did great today. No need to put any caveats to it. And if whenever there was anything that you were a little bit unsure about, you communicated it with me, and I appreciate that very, very much, and that's all you can do, and you did great. So shout out to the crew. People playing roles that they don't normally play.
It's dope. And L, I see you. We're definitely going to get that channel guide of all of our content, man, so that you guys can stay hip to everything. But it's your boy Brandon Dan K, Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential pistol reporter, writer for the network. It's been Wake Up Woodward. It's been a good show. If you haven't gotten an opportunity to, smash that like button. And most importantly, have a great day, you guys.